All right. Um. All right. I guess we'll just get into it. Hey,
Yep.
welcome to episode 24 of We Can't Code, so we criticize. This is a
Woo
weekly video
woo!
game podcast between two friends where we share relatively biased opinions of our favorite games, but, I mean, what source isn't biased? We also
Yep.
cover week-to-week gamer news. Actually, we don't even really do that anymore.
No,
just
we
kinda talk
don't.
shit
We
now.
stopped doing that. We just,
I should
we
take
just
that out of
talk
my
shit at the
intro
end of the day.
All right, here, I'm going to highlight it.
And just delete that.
No more news for We Can't Code.
We can
All
no
right.
longer be trusted in that.
Do not blame us. I feel like one of the celebrities who's like, I am not a role model for your child. Like,
Pretty
Yeah.
much straight up,
Um,
yep.
anyway, my name is Ben.
And I'm Michael.
Mike, how was your week?
My week was actually pretty good on seeing some new stuff. Like, I saw two new movies. Well, they're not new, technically. They've been out for a while, but I saw finally Avengers Endgame, and then I saw Pet Sematary as well. And I have to say, I am disappointed in both of them. Way more
Yeah.
in Pet Sematary than Endgame. Endgame, I was like, okay. And then I played more Diablo 3. I actually finished the season set then for my guy.
Yeah,
kinda
actually, I did-
destroyed it.
I did too. Okay, so let's backpedal here. Let's start with the movies. Okay, first thing you
Yeah.
mentioned was Endgame. So it's been a couple months. I'm just gonna go ahead and say let's freely talk about Endgame. I mean, if you
Yeah.
haven't seen it by now, stop the podcast. You're gonna have plenty of time in the next
Yeah.
few seconds here before we like immediately say any spoilers. But so you should have paused it by now. But okay, now
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about Endgame. So Mike, what did you not like about Endgame?
I don't know. It felt so lacklustered. I just didn't really care about the time. Honestly, I just hated the whole time thing. The time thing, every single time they try to put time travel in any type of movie, I immediately just think it's stupid because they break every rule and it never makes sense at all. Especially with this
Yeah.
one, because they said that like, oh, it's not really time travel. You're going to a different dimension. But then at the end of the movie, Captain America comes back older.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
So they said you
know.
can't change anything that has already happened. You can only alter it for the future. So like that's how they described that the people that were young, they stayed young. It like it was just like a blink that they were gone, then they were back. So nothing changed in the 5 years that they were gone, but they can change the future. Which, yeah, as you were saying, was bullshit, because Captain America stayed in the fucking past. There's changing the past for you.
Yeah.
So,
And he ended up in the same timeline as themselves. Like, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. But okay. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I don't know much about that. The whole thing with time, like, they tried to explain it, and, yeah,
Well, in the
they
defense,
spent
though,
this...
It sort of makes sense because he goes back in time during the time when he was frozen. Like, and because, like, Captain America was frozen and he gets unthawed, and obviously he shows up in modern time. But still, it's like, what I thought what they were saying is that you can't change the timeline because the timeline isn't really a timeline, it's a dimension. And even the chick from Mr. Strange, the bald chick, she was saying, like, this is not the same timeline.
From
We're a
Mr.
different-
Did you just say Mr. Strange?
Yeah, it was
He didn't
Doctor
go to.
Strange.
He didn't do 7 years of med school to be called Mr. Strange, Mike.
Well, honestly, I don't see him as a doctor anymore. All right, he's doing voodoo medicine, so he's no longer a doctor.
Voodoo medicine. Oh,
He's doing herbal
Okay.
teas and spiritual bullshit, so that's not real doctor shit. So I think he
hanging
should
out
lose
with
his license.
monks. Yeah.
But like, even she was saying, it's like, yeah, we're not the same timeline. We're a different branch of I'm like, okay, so yeah, so that makes sense. And he goes like, yeah, we'll just bring it back. We'll just snap it back to you. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because you're snapping back into their dimension. She said that I'm not part of your dimension. I'm a different dimension now. And if you take my thing, you're going to screw over my dimension.
I'll
And
take my thing.
so I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, but then all of a sudden, Captain America goes back in time, and that he's still there, and like once again, I was just like, what? And it was just, and there was no real like urgency. There was no real threat. I felt like I already knew what was going to happen at the end of this one. I was like, okay, everyone's going to come back. Maybe one or two people are going to die. Who cares?
The most frustrating thing for me is that I had a complaint, and I was on Reddit, and I wrote it down. I said, it's frustrating to me that they killed half of the people in Infinity War, and then they just decided to bring them all back, and oh, nothing's changed. Like, it's like an episode of That 70s Show, or like a 90s sitcom, where it doesn't matter where you start or where you end. None of the episodes have any, they don't matter. It doesn't have any continuity or anything. Like the whatever they did in the previous movie, they just undid it all, basically. And so there was zero consequence. But so I said that on Reddit, and then a guy came back to me, and he was like, oh, so you expected half of the Marvel Universe to die? And he was kind of being a dick about it. And I was like, no, I expected them to come back, but there needs to be some consequence for that still. You know, there needs to be, maybe a couple of them come back, or it's going to drastically affect the universe way more than people are going to expect. And they can't just pick up where they left off. I mean, the whole... Like, if you saw Spider-Man Homecoming, the funny thing that they did with... Or, it's not Homecoming,
I haven't
Far
seen
From
it
Home.
yet. I haven't seen that one yet.
They address it in the funniest way possible. Not that they were trying to be funny, but they were just like, hey, this is how we're doing it now. Even though 5 years were gone. Like, you look at it, and you look at the movie, and it doesn't look like people were living, like, post-apocalyptic lives for the last 5 years. It just looks like they were, like, oh, now summer's over and we're all back in school. Like, they hardly address the fact. Address the fact that, like...
I was so excited to see Far Away From Home because of that. I was like, oh...
No. It was a good movie. I liked Far From Home, I'll say that. But they just breeze over the fact that all these people were gone. And they give, like, 2 minutes of exposition as, like, this is what happened and here's what we're doing now. And, like, in the sense that they cover their tracks... They did. They covered their tracks. But in the sense that it was, like, laughably simplified is the best part.
Especially since it was the biggest build-up. For this movie, it was the biggest build-up ever. And then now, since it's happened, it's funny that it's just talked about in just a 2-minute snippet then in the next following movies. Yeah. I thought that was even, like, the main trailing line. Because me and my girlfriend, after we saw that movie and we see Spider-Man back in school... And in the end game, we were just talking. It's like, so like now like half the class is like 5 years older, and there's other 5 that had to stay behind, and because they're still 5 years older, like they're still the same age, and then there's like Ant-Man's daughter is 5 years older, and she was still living in their house without any parents. It's like, how was that?
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple things that they just like breeze over, and they make a joke of it. They reference it, they make a joke of it, and then you're like, wait, I have so many more questions. And they're like, I gotta save the universe now. Like,
the housing market. Like, people have moved into other people's homes that have been snapped away, but now they're back. Where do they live? Jobs have been replaced.
The thing with Ant-Man's daughter is funny. Like, how old was she when he disappeared? She was, like, 6, and the house isn't, like, destroyed. No one was taking care of her. Like, none of the windows are broken or anything. Like, she would have been living alone as like a 6-year-old or 8, however old she was. She would have been living alone, and someone would have had to be taking care of her for the last 5 years. So you don't think that when her father comes back, this person that's been at least watching over her is like, oh, I'm her new mother, or something. Like, you just don't even see any like kind of parental control. Like, she's been fucking taking care of herself as an 8-year-old.
It's like, I've been babysitting for 5 years, so can I get some type of payment here?
Yeah, but anyway, the worst thing about Endgame is the fact that a lot of people had this argument with Superman too. But so in the comic books, Superman at one point dies. It's called The Death of Superman. It was the most popular comic when it came out, and then like 4 comic issues later, they brought him back or something, and people were saying. It was one of those things that was like, oh, did you expect Superman to really be dead? And it was the same argument I had on Reddit of just like, no, I didn't expect him to be dead, but I expected some consequence. The fact that Superman can die and then come back to life opens up this door that death doesn't really matter anymore. Yeah. You didn't kill Superman. You didn't kill half of the Marvel Universe. You killed the idea of death, and that is the part
Yeah.
that stuck with me. You killed Death.
There was
Death
someone
no
who was
longer
talking
matters.
about that too, and I agree with him fully. Is that he wasn't upset that because like this person was a huge Superman fan. He wasn't upset that they killed him and brought him back to life. The problem is that they did it in the beginning of the whole entire series of it, because that should have been something at the end, near the end of the series. But if you just do off the beginning, it's exactly what you just said. There is no more urgency. No one else is gonna die now, because like everyone knows.
Nothing.
Everyone
Sorry.
knows that Superman's gonna die, but they just don't know
Yeah.
when. But if you do it right there and then, it's like, well, what's next? Nothing. There's no big. Superman's death is the biggest thing ever because he's fucking Superman. If you kill Superman, I mean, it's his name, you know. If you call someone Superman, like they're indestructible. But when you kill him off, it's like, oh shit, that just happened. But then you bring him back, it's like, okay, then. The strongest
There
person
is
alive.
nothing that you can do to someone more than kill them. And now that you've basically said killing someone doesn't matter, now there is no now there is nothing important to if someone gets hurt or something. Like, they can always recover now, even if they are dead
Yeah.
and in the ground for 5 fucking years or disappeared into literally nothing. They can still come back.
Well, there
So that
are
was
two characters that cannot come back officially, and that is Black Widow and then the Guardian of the Galaxy's green chick, Allura, I think is her name, because they
It
were
doesn't-
sacrificed for the Soul Stone. So they
No, it doesn't matter.
so they
Because
can't come
Gamora,
back though. Gamora can't
But
come back.
Gamora was sacrificed for the Soul Stone or whatever beforehand, and she fucking came back. Even if she's from a different universe, she came back. I'm sure that
She
they're
didn't-
gonna give her like.
She said it was said she was missing still in like the database. So, but I mean,
Regardless,
I hope they
they're-
don't bring. If they bring her back, I'm gonna be so upset if they bring her back, because then that just then completely destroys everything, at all. Because
Mike, I've got some bad news for you, bud. You know they're making a Black Widow movie, right? So obviously she has to come back.
that's in her past though. That's about her past and her upbringing and becoming Black Widow. So she's not coming back. It's just her. It was how she became a spy and all that stuff and all her training.
All right, I'm gonna say a new thing then. How about this? If you had to give a percentage, 0 to 100%, how certain or uncertain are you that she is coming back? Because I am 99% certain that she is coming back.
I'm a kind of like 100% certain she's not coming back, because she had at
Whoa.
the end of the end game they had a card, like they showed characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and and I think there was another person there who officially died or is no longer getting movies, and it showed the characters and the super character and the actual actor's name with the signature and all that stuff. It was only the characters that obviously could not get any more Marvel movies. So I think she's officially not coming back. I think she's going to get her movie, but it's going to be her in the past becoming Black Widow, which I'm super excited about because I love her character. I love the actor, but they put her... I hated her in the Avengers movies because she didn't make sense being there. The same thing with Hawkeye. They didn't... They should have chose different heroes than them. The person that was breaking the border that shouldn't been there, should not be there, was fucking Captain America, and he was because he just had super steroids. But Black Widow and Hawkeye were just humans, and man, like, I was so mad with Black Widow's character because she did not need to be there at all, because she's a fucking spy, not a soldier. And do you remember like in Infinity War? Was it Infinity War? No, the first Avengers. Sorry, it was in the first Avengers movie when like the aliens were coming and attacking the planet, and then there she was in the middle of the streets just holding 2 pistols and shooting at directions. I'm like, you're a fucking spy. What are you doing? It's like, that's not where you're supposed to be at. You're supposed to be stealthy, sneaking around, not standing in the middle of a road with 2 fucking pistols.
Yeah, it's not your
And-
talent. It's like if they
Yeah.
had Captain America doing taxes or something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're the strong guy. You're not supposed to be doing this.
And it made me upset too because like there was a perfect scene where she could have been useful, but they didn't use it. It was like they showed you like a building where there was like this skyscraper building where there's human hostages with aliens in there, and like human-sized aliens too. Oh, that'd been a great scene for Black Widow to go in there all stealthy, kill all the guards, and let the humans out. That'd been a cool scene. That would make sense. But it's like, no, we're just gonna stick her out in the middle of the road and shooting people. with pistols, and not even like it just arms straight out, not even looking like she's even doing anything. And they did the same thing with Captain America's like best friend. You remember who had like the metal arm and stuff?
Yeah, Bucky. Bucky is my favorite.
In the Endgame, all you see him doing is a close up of his face and just pulling a trigger of a gun and just looking different directions, and that was it. And then it just went to someone else. I was like,
I don't even care. I love Bucky.
Like, you love Bucky? I don't even know who Bucky is. I just like, and I was like, okay. He's like, you're there, cool. But I don't know.
I don't know. I just think Bucky's a cool dude. That's just me. I've got 101 reasons to not like him, but I don't know. I feel like a hypocrite for not liking a couple people and liking Bucky, but just Bucky's cool, man.
It's like, once again, I don't hate Bucky, but it's the same thing with just like with Black Widow. It's like, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's like, what's your real talent? All right, so
that's been like 15 minutes of.
I can keep on going with that, but.
No, I know, but let's move on
to. So then I saw Pet Sematary, and my God, that movie. Now, Endgame was just like, meh. You know, it's like it was a movie. I saw it. I'm happy I saw it, but I honestly wouldn't care if someone spoiled that movie for me at all.
And it sounds like you made the good choice. You waited for it to be on Netflix or whatever. Like you didn't see it in theaters.
No, yeah, I'm glad I did not see that in theaters. I'm really glad. And by the way, I loved Infinity War. Damn, that was good. I actually really liked Infinity War. Endgame was just a lackluster, though. So lackluster. But
well, yeah, because everything that Infinity War did well, the Endgame just reversed it. They were like, no, that didn't actually happen. So it took all of the thunder from Infinity War.
It did happen, but the problem they did, though, at the end is that it made it seem like it didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because once again, they kept it that it's still 5 years later, but as you said even more in Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie, it really had no effect at all. No, there's no major disaster, there's no panic. I mean, their job is not even nearly done if you looked at it realistically. But once again, like, well, we talked about that. It's gone for 5 years, and it's like we're gonna just bounce back from that. No, that doesn't
like
happen.
all the scenes at school and everything in the new Spider-Man movie. It's like this doesn't look like the school's been abandoned for 5 years. Like it's weird. But anyway, so first question about Pet Sematary, Mike. Have you seen both of them, the old and now the new?
I've seen the old and the new.
Okay, because this is interesting. This is going to be a cool conversation because I haven't seen either. So someone that's seen both of them and someone that hasn't seen a single one, I'm interested to hear. So what sucked about Pet Sematary?
So what sucked about Pet Sematary is that they literally had the main storyline of Pet Sematary. I don't know if you know the storyline of Pet Sematary at all, do you?
The animals come back from the dead if they're buried in this cemetery, right?
Yeah, and so then a girl...
Indian burial ground, I think.
Yeah, basically, and exactly.
Okay.
And
yeah, I think that's exactly where that trope
dies,
came from.
And then they bury the girl, and then she comes back to life, and it's like, oh shit, you know, I shouldn't have done this. And so Pet Sematary...
I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, you know.
Like, this is one of my favorite things about having a podcast with you is that the most crucial, like, a lot of people I know I dramatize the way that I talk. When I say a certain word or when I'm trying to emphasize a point, I give a lot of, like, dramatic tone to it. But you just gloss over the most important thing. Like, you're like, oh, we shouldn't have done this. Like, as if that's not the whole point of the movie.
No shit. It's like, yeah, of course you should have done this.
This is a mistake.
So I would just go to spoil this movie. You do not want to see this movie. It is awful. Just straight up awful. It seemed like they knew it was so bad, they put a different ghost story in the movie. There is another ghost story, not related to Pet Sematary. It's not even a ghost story. It's like psychological horror thing added to it, which adds nothing to the movie. The story of this adds nothing, which is about the wife's sister, who had like a spinal injury and so was bedridden for her whole entire life, which didn't make any sense because her sister's photo, she looks totally beautiful, but when you go in the past, she's hideous and her back is really creepy. And by the way, this story is better than the Pet Sematary story in the movie. That it is more scarier than the Pet Sematary part. And
okay, so the part that was completely unrelated to the plot is better than the original plot.
I shit you not, it is, and it literally has no effect in the movie. It doesn't have any effect. Just the mother has these random mental breakdowns when she lives back to when her sister died falling down the elevator chute. And I'm like, okay, and nothing. It just she has these horrible flashbacks of hearing her ugly ass sister walking across her room when she's down below, and then falling down the elevator shaft because she sent her food up that way when she was supposed to take it up to her, and she somehow fell down it, and it's her
Is
fault.
this like a dumbwaiter? Is that what I'm
Yeah, it's
understanding?
a dumbwaiter. Yeah, it's a dumbwaiter.
Okay.
And she's saying the dumbwaiter didn't always work, and I shouldn't use it, but she was so scary and mean to me. I just couldn't do it myself, and my family, my parents left me, a 6-year-old girl, alone to take care of my ill-ridden older sister. I'm like, why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Your parents
all?
are dumb. Dumb parents. Just letting you know. Stupid parents.
so,
Stupid
she said,
kids. That's what I always say. No.
Basically. And so the story of this is that she's sitting up the dumbwaiter, and then all of a sudden the dumbwaiter, like she then hears her sister go over to the dumbwaiter to get her food, and then the dumbwaiter falls, but then her sister falls on top of it and then dies from that. So I'm like, so how is that your fault? I mean, if she got stuck in the dumbwaiter and then fell inside of it, then it would have been your fault. But it looked like the dumbwaiter fell, and then she just jumped down it. So I was just laughing.
My food!
So I actually laughed at that one. I thought that shit was funny. I was like,
She just,
okay, so that's not even
She
your
just
fault.
nosedives after her pancakes or whatever.
Oh, and then what's even funnier, by the way, Ben, is that she said that she was haunted by that for like the rest of the time she was living in that house. And then
She was haunted by the dumbwaiter?
by her
Is that what I'm
sister.
underst- Oh, okay.
By her sister. And so like say like she could still hear sister in the law. So then like in the movie then, so like they have a cat, the cat dies, and then their neighbor takes, oh my god, man, there's so many things. Like I have to like describe this whole movie. So there's this one random black kid who dies. And the father, who's the main
Is this
character.
like a typical every horror
Well,
movie or what?
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Why I bring up that he's black is like, why I just don't understand this is
because you're
they didn't-
racist.
Well, no, so like he's basically a doctor in a college, and so this kid gets hit by a car and he bleeds out in the nurse's office or something like that, and then he calls him dead, and the black guy gets up and says like, "Don't do it. The ground is soiled," or something like that. I'm like,
Wait. So the black guy who died
comes back to life.
and
in
says,
the
"Don't
main
do it,
character,
the ground
don't.
is soiled."
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, he's talking about the pet cemetery. Don't, go do that. Which honestly does not matter at
I'm
all.
Confused.
Exactly.
Okay,
And so basically, then this black guy's haunting him. Well, not haunting, but he's like a friendly ghost. He's trying to say, hey, don't.
He's
don't-
Casper.
Basically, and which makes no sense that why they had a black guy instead of a Native American do it, because they even say it. So the Native Americans, they left this area and they built this wall, to not go back into that area. And I'm like, then how did the black guy know about it? How do you know that right off the bat, right after he died? Because he said like
he went to school, Mike. He's smart like that. He's
I
got
guess
that
so.
college education.
because like the black guy would just say like, you try to help me, I'm gonna try to help you, don't do it. But then the neighbor shows him it anyways, and he's like, oh yeah, your cat dies, I really like your daughter, and I don't want her to feel sad about her cat, so I'm gonna go, take you to this place. And I know it's a bad idea anyways though, because I did it, and my dog came back, and he came back mean. But I thought since your cat was nice, it wouldn't be different at all. And I'm
That's a
like,
good cat.
that's a good cat. But it didn't
I
work.
could
The
tell.
cat was still bad. And then, I don't even think it was in the cat's fault that killed the little girl, because she gets hit by a truck, and it was just this truck that just wasn't paying attention. And
Wait, I thought the girl got destroyed by a dumbwaiter.
no, that was the sister of the mom. Once again,
Okay,
that story doesn't
okay.
matter, Ben. That story, like I said, that story has no impact on the main story at all.
All right, so someone else gets hit by a truck.
Yeah,
All right.
so the mom
So
and
it's
the
the
father's
cat's fault?
daughter. No, not really. I mean, the cat. It's really the father's fault because he tries to get rid of the cat, but he doesn't have the balls enough to kill the cat again. I mean, I would just ask the neighbor to kill him because you clearly saw he had a gun. It's like, hey, this is your fault. The cat's back and being vicious and mean. You gotta go kill him. And he's like, but no, he just goes off in the middle of nowhere and just drops the cat off. And like, the cat just came back in the middle of from like the middle of a swamp and walked all the way back to your house before. You think that's gonna really work? And on the kid's birthday, the cat is walking down the street, and the girl sees him and runs up to it. And then a trucker was looking at his cell phone, and then he diverges off because then her little brother, because there's also a little brother too, gets in the street, and then he deserves to avoid him. He lives, but then the back of the bed of the truck comes attached and pushes her, basically hits her, and she somehow just only, instead of getting smushed and smeared into jelly, she gets flung backwards instead. And she's dead. Everyone's distraught, and this is what makes me laugh so hard, is that that
was a good transition.
So this
horrible thing, a kid dies, and this is what makes me laugh really hard, by the way.
It is.
Okay, continue.
It's just so stupid. So the mother is like, I can't be here. I keep on thinking she's gonna come up the stairs. I need to go. So she goes back to her parents' house with their son, and he stays behind to take care of some other stuff, But his other stuff is, I'm gonna bring her back to life and all that. And then you go to the
list, bring daughter back to life.
Yeah, which is basically how it feels like, by the way, in the movie. And then, so that the house that she goes back to is the same house that she's haunted her whole entire life from her sister. And that's where she goes back to feel better, by the way. That this is the house she goes to. Me. And you immediately see her already having a mental breakdown again. And she's been having mental breakdowns like the whole entire time of the movie. I'm like, damn, you're a little girl. Let it the fuck go. I mean, I know it's dramatic, but it was fucking, it looks like 30 years ago. And you're telling me you're still having these issues, and you go back to the same house to help get your ease of mind? And then once again, for some reason, the black ghost is still following his family now instead of him. And he does nothing but look. He doesn't say anything to anyone. The kid sees him, but he doesn't say anything to the kid.
Oh,
yeah, he's a ghost.
Never mind.
So the black guy's a ghost.
People can see him.
Only the kid, for some reason, now can see him. Like, the kid can see him, because kids can see
ghosts.
Do
they explain that
reason.
At all? Like, why the kid, but no one else?
No.
All right,
and
cool.
he never showed... So you see him in the kid's bedroom when at the grandparents' house, and then you see him again you see his shirt in the rear mirror when you're looking at the kid again, because, like, the mother's driving home. And
wait, so this ghost was undressing himself with
you just see
bedroom with him?
No, you just see, like, when you see him in the car with the kid, because, like, the mother decides to drive back to the house to see what's going on. You only see reflection of him. But the thing is, though, he doesn't do anything. Then that's the last you see him. There's no explanation. Or, like, he doesn't do anything anymore. So he's another useless part of the story. He has no effect in the movie at all. He's like, I'm going to try to stop you from going there. He doesn't. And it doesn't even matter because the main character, the father, doesn't go there by himself. Some random, his neighbor does. He's like, oh, just follow me. We're going to go there. He's like, okay. So we're going to go there. And he doesn't just like... And it just, like, nothing made sense. So, like, the black character, there was no point to the black character. There was no point of the sister story. And everyone was just stupid. It was just, like, I was just mind blown how stupid things were.
1 out of 10, Mike. What would you give it?
I would honestly give it a 1. Straight up a
Damn.
1. It's not even worth seeing. It is just not. It's just stupid. Okay, maybe a 2.
And what would you give in Endgame as well?
Endgame, a 6.
I would say myself. I was just gonna say a 6 sounds good. To the extent that it was enjoyable and I wanted to see the movie because it's part of a series now. I would give it past that 5, that turning point of, if this was a bad movie, I would give it just over a 5, so 6 sounds about right.
Yeah, because, like, honestly, it was just annoying. And then I finished playing, so that's Pet Sematary. Don't go see it, people. Save your money.
Yeah,
save your
let's get into games, though. So, what have you been playing?
So, just Diablo 2. I just have been having
3.
much... Yeah, Diablo 3. That game, I don't know, man. Ever since the time we started up, it just sucks into my life. It's just weird. And it's just... The game is good. It's just so much fun. And I just completed the season set for the Barbarian. And
I stopped playing on Tuesday this week. What Paragon level are you?
I think I'm, like, level... Because now I have the full set. I think I'm, like, level 50, I think.
Okay.
maybe.
Because I got to over Paragon level 100. So
oh wow, damn!
I played quite a bit on Monday and Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference between you and me is that I have to go I have a job and all that stuff, so you have more downtime.
Hey, this is my job, bringing entertainment to the people. No.
So who did you?
Please hire me. No.
Did you do the wizard or did you do the monk with the set?
I stuck with the wizard. I decided
Okay.
I don't really have anyone to rush me or anything, and I was looking into it and I was like, okay, this wizard set's not that bad, and it's the Firebird set, Firebird Finery.
Yeah,
for anyone
and
who
it's
knows
when you
Diablo.
die, like the final set, when you die, like a comet comes down and then you get re-risen, right? You come back to life. Resurrected, yeah.
So the biggest thing about it is, what you want to do with this is you need to cast 3 fire spells, and then once you do that, then it ignites the enemy, and then he takes 3,000 damage per second until he dies. So that's
Okay.
really good, but it's really hard. You run out of mana really quickly because every single guy that you want that effect to happen to, they have to get hit by 3 separate spells. So that's why it's a really difficult build, because it's terrible for large groups. But if you're fighting like an elite or a boss or something, it's good. But otherwise, if you're fighting a big group of guys, you're going to run out of mana really quickly.
Oh, yeah,
or
for sure.
one of your spells is going to miss someone or something. Like, there's always an issue where someone sneaks by, hits you, and then, you're a wizard, so just you immediately die.
Yeah.
And so, it's tough to get those 3 spells off and stay alive, because typically the second that you spawn in, or the second that, I teleport into a room, someone jumps on me and then, dead. So there's a lot of planning that goes into playing the wizard. You have to be very light-footed about everything, but you also have to be a glass cannon. So it's a weird tightrope to walk.
Yeah, the barbarian's the exact opposite of that. Just run in the middle of a room and just press 1, because I have because my set allows me to do his first set move, leap, which allows him to jump in the air and slam on the ground and do damage around people around him. But if you get the full set, once you leap, it also then activates one of his strongest ability called Avalanche. No, it's Volcano Eruption or something like that, where the whole ground lights up and then does an area effect of a shitload of damage. And
Okay.
I was lucky to find a legendary item where I extracted the ability from it where I can leap 3 times. So then I can leap 3 times, and then that means I can do my most strongest move 3 times in multiple spots in a single spot. And since I also have that on my hotkey, I then just activate it again, so I can have my strongest ability killing people with 4 layers of damage, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
And I just
That
run
sounds
over
pretty
everyone.
good.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
maybe you and I will
stupid fun.
play after this podcast. Then I could.
Yeah, I would love to do that, because I'm glad that you're still playing it. I was a bit worried that I was going to outreach you, but you clearly outreached me, so I think that's great, and it's been a lot of fun if we. I'm really like to see us play together and all that stuff.
Well, I've been able to power level really quickly because there was a thing that I got from my character where I have a teleport move. Audience.
Yeah.
I have a teleport move where I can teleport twice. Well, I got something where now I can teleport as much as I want, and the thing is, it drains mana. So
Okay.
it's going to be tough because I've been focusing my character on mana regen, so it doesn't kill me, but I feel like you and I are going to have a difficult time playing together because basically my only goal is to find elites and kill them. It's the fastest way to level up, and it's the fastest way to get through rifts and stuff, is just go through the game, find the elites, only kill them, and then go on to the next elite. So I feel like if we played together, it would be tough for you to keep up, but I'm happy to try.
But luckily I found with my leap ability, since it also gives it it also gains the rune, because you can add runes to your abilities and all that stuff, and then with the armor set it adds the rune of automatically having the armor rune. So then I added an additional rune where it pulls all enemies towards me. So then that way, if we jump in an area, I just pull everyone towards me with my 3 leaps, and then you just stand on the outside and just fucking zap them right in the middle of me. And then they're stuck in your laser beam, all of your damage, and then they're stuck in my damage pool of fucking 4 lava pools on the floor. So it's and they're gonna die. And then that way, they can't get to you.
Laser.
And then they attack me because I also upgraded my my thorn damage too. So once they hit me, they take even more damage. And so it's like fucking sweet. But yeah. It's
I'd be down to play that though after this.
Sweet.
So other than
I've been
Diablo
wanting to
3,
play with you now with that.
Yeah. So after Diablo 3, have you touched anything else this week?
No. I'm trying to get back into Resident Evil 7, but man, I can tell you this much, like with the what we did with 2000, like what we're doing with 2018. You know, we're doing our top 5 and then also like our low 5. I think that maybe Resident Evil 7 might be in my low 5. Resident Evil 7. I don't know if I said 5 by accident, but Resident Evil 7, yeah. I do not have the excitement to play that game, but I want to, just because I love Resident Evil so much. And it's just like
we can get there when we get there.
Yeah.
As for me, so along with Diablo 3, which we already talked about, I played more Eternal card game. So this funny thing happened with Eternal. For anyone who listened last episode or who didn't listen last episode, Eternal card game is basically a Hearthstone copycat for the most part. Like it is Hearthstone but with rules that are basically Magic the Gathering. So like Hearthstone but with mana and resource cards that you use as well. Anyway, so there was this month-long event that I was in last week, and it was called like Far Horizons or something. Basically, you get in-game currency called gold, and it costs a fuck ton to get into this event that goes on for a month long. But once you get into it, once you unlock the event, you immediately get 8 card packs. So it's a good deal just based off of that. And then it's kind of like the arena. Now
this gold though, do they allow you to buy this gold, or you can only earn this gold by playing the game?
Yes, you can do both, but it's really easy. I haven't spent a single dime in the game, but so I think anyway, they give you a month to accrue that amount of money, which is more than enough time. I think I accrued it in like 4 or 5 days or something, which I mean plenty of time. So anyway, what the funny thing that happened is I get into this event. And what it is it's like the arena in Hearthstone, where it gives you 3 cards, and then you pick, out of the 3 cards, I want this one, and then it shows you 3 more cards. Oh, out of those, I want this one.
So you
slowly build it. Yep, and then that's the only deck that you can use. And then your mishmash of a deck plays against all the other mishmash of decks. So it's kind of like no one has a real synergy with their deck. It's just kind of like, oh, I hope that these cards work together. So, it's funny because everyone is just kind of like hoping for the best, and there's so anyway, it's a month-long event. They said that you can play 41 games, and those 41 games will dictate your rank out of like 10,000 or something. So I played the first placement match. There's only one placement match, and I got it, and it put me into rank 4,400 something, and I was like, okay, I'm in the upper half.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, that was the first game of like my 40 whatever games I've got to play. So I look at the prizes that you get. So at the end of the month, if you are rank 1 to 10, you get like 20 extra card decks. If you're rank something to something, you get this many card decks, and so it goes up all the way to 10,000. Even if you come in 10,000, you still get like 4 extra card packs or something. So I looked at where I was at 4,000. The next rank that I had to get another card pack was 2,500. And I was like, fuck that. Oof. There's no way that I'm going to be in the top 2,500. I'm playing this game basically casually. And then I looked to the next rank below me. Like, what is the minimum rank I have to be before I go down? Or what's the minimum rank I have to be before I get to the lower tier and I make one less card deck? And it was 5,000. So I was like, easy. So basically I only played 2 games the entire month on this mode. So I was at 4,400, and then through the month my level started to go up and up and up and up and up. And when I got to like 4,900 rank, I was like, okay, I've got to lower my ranking again to stay in that 4,000-ish tier. So I played 1 game. I think I played like 2 cards, and the guy, like something was going on with the guy where he just immediately surrendered. And I was like, fuck, that was easy. and I got to rank 4,200 or something. And then, a day later, the event ended, and I made like 10 extra card decks, and I was like, fuck yeah, awesome. But it was so funny because it was like this big event of like play 41 games and see your rank, and I just totally abused the system. Like, I saw where I was. I knew that the next tier being in 2,500 was just this unattainable goal. And if I was going to try to get to that point, like, I would have lost more games than won. I guarantee it, because I'm new at this game. So I would have ended up hurting myself. So all I was trying to do is just maintain where I was, and it totally worked.
Just scrape by with a minimum amount. Nice.
I know. Exactly. So, yeah. I think for everything, I must have gotten like 15 card packs or something from that. So that was really fun. And I just liked my tactic of how little do I have to play to maintain. And it was the answer is 2 games.
2 games and you're set. Oh, yep. Man.
And then the last thing that I did was Fallout 4 Game of the Year. So if you remember from my last... It's very good. Very fun. So in the last podcast, I had this story where I snuck into the mayor's secret bank office, or, his treasury, and the bank's right-hand man, the bodyguard, was like, you thought you could kill us and sneak behind our back, but they didn't have a fucking gun because I stole it off of them like an hour ago. So they just ran at me with fists, and I killed them. So I have a continuation of that story, and it's very funny. Oh. The mayor comes to me, and he's like, hey, I know that you stole all of my shit and you killed my right-hand man. And he was like, I'm going to forgive you if you do a favor for me and if you pay me 10,000 bottle caps or something. And so I did the favor for him. And then he was like, okay, you still owe me this many bottle caps. And I was just like, no, fuck off. And he was like, I'm just kidding. You don't owe me shit. Like, it was such a weird thing for him to say. He was like, nah, I wasn't expecting you to pay.
Because I know you can easily kill me.
And then, Mike, the funniest thing is now he is my ally, and he fights for me. This guy that was the mayor that I stole from, that I killed his bodyguard, now he fights for me.
Oh, was he, is he a mutant? Is he kind of like
He's the mutant from Good Neighbor, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hancock.
I remember the first time I showed up in that town, some guy walks up to me and is like, hey, some guy just started shit with me as soon as I walked in. I think he wanted money from me or something like that, and he threatened me. And then
that always happens.
Yeah, and so like after we're done talking, I just killed him. He didn't even try to kill me. I just blew his brains out because he pissed me off. And then that guy, the mayor, just walked up and was like, "I like your jib." I'm like, "I like you a lot."
Yeah,
I'm not gonna mess with you because I just like you. Because I just blew this guy's brains out in front of the whole entire town, and he's the mayor. Just walks up, and is like, "I like you. That's the way you handle shit." I'm like, "Yeah, we're best friends."
Yeah. So if you don't kill that guy at the beginning, which I killed him too, but then I was like, "Oh, I don't want to get bad like notoriety in the town," so I auto-saved and auto-loaded it back. If you don't kill that guy, the mayor actually just comes up and shoots the guy. So like that's why you don't get in trouble, is because that guy is destined to die.
Oh, is he? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me sad too, though. 'Cause it's like, with Endgame, it's like, oh, so I didn't even need to kill you. That's lame.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought that was funny. Is this guy who I like stole the guy. Basically, I took everything that this guy ever had.
Aww.
And then he's a cool dude. Like, sorry.
He stole shit.
Well, I haven't stolen his clothes yet, but I really like what he wears. He wears like this American colonial type of like patriot suit, and I'm trying to get my thievery up where I can steal the clothes off of his back.
Oh, by the way,
cool.
If you haven't played Fallout, he's this mayor is a mutant, and like he's just a human with like no skin, no nose, no nothing. He's basically handicapped. So basically, Ben stole from a handicapped person. All right,
he's basically handicapped.
For how ugly he is, he's fucking handicapped. All right, and Ben's here just stealing his shit.
He's a cool guy. Who cares if he's handicapped? He had stuff I want.
He's a cool guy. Why are you stealing his shit, man? Oh,
I'm ruthless.
I like that guy. Yeah, you are. Damn. It's like, and yet you're like, oh, I don't want to have a bad reputation for killing this dude. Oh, let me steal this handicap shit.
Hey, he fucking works for me. I mean, I'm sure that I could just ask him for his shirt and he would give it to me, but I'm nicer than that. I want to take it from him without him
I think
noticing.
you can literally just take it off his clothes without even asking him.
Well, that would I don't want to ask for someone's clothes. I would rather I steal it from him and he doesn't even notice. Like I don't want to get a bad rep with someone who's hanging out with me. I would rather that he's like he wakes up one day and he's like, "Oh, my clothes are gone." And there I am and I'm just
I have a question
What?
about that game. So,
Yeah.
you know, like, you can walk up to people and you can actually literally take off all of their clothes from them. And then you can also
Yeah.
then put things on them, like a grenade. So, when you take away all their clothes and you put a grenade in them without a pin, where's that grenade sitting at?
They still have like a loincloth that they wear. It's not like they're just dicks out at that point.
That's true. That is very... I guess you could just drop it there. It's like, oh, I didn't even feel that. It is funny when you do that and they just fucking explode then.
So that's all I've been doing lately is Diablo 3, Eternal, and Fallout 4 Game of the Year. Mike, we're going to move on to the main event of the podcast here. So, Mike, take my hand for a moment. Let's pretend that we're in the same room and not in different time zones. Just take my hand for a moment, Mike. Close your eyes, and I want you to follow me and step into my time machine.
Oh, God.
Guess what year we're going to, Mike?
Hope not rape time.
We're going to the glorious year of 2018. Now,
I hope you're going to see Adventure Time. When was Adventure
not
Time?
quite.
Adventure
So,
Time was like 2016.
Adventure Time's been on for... They're on like 7 or like
Just
10 seasons or
Throwing
something.
this whole thing
Anyway.
of bands playing out the drain right now.
No. We're sticking with it. Okay, so it's 2018, Mike. Look around you. Oh, it's amazing, this world. 2018. Everyone is listening to Bruno Mars and Drake. And, oh, everything is different. Look at my clothes style. I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Oh, I would have never worn this. Yeah, everything has changed. So, okay, now we're in 2018, Mike.
It's
So
amazing.
now-
It's beautiful.
I know. It's beautiful. Before the world was destroyed with pollution and
Fallout 76.
Fallout 76. Yeah,
it's
Mike, how
great.
excited are you for Fallout 76? That's coming out soon.
I know, it's coming out on my birthday. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. That game is going to be best.
It's
Dude,
literally
Todd
coming out on my
Howard
birthday,
says the
dude.
game's going to be the best. I'm
He
all
says
about
it
it.
just works. He says it just works. I'm like, wow, you know, it's actually going to be working when it comes out.
You know, I bet it just works. That guy
16 the
cannot
graphics.
lie.
No,
16 times the graphics. 4
He
times the
never
detail.
does it wrong. He's finally admitted to that their games have bugs, and they're making sure they don't do it with Fallout 76. I believe
This is like
them.
the cigarette company admitting that their cigarettes cause cancer. Like, to everyone else, it's like, no shit, your cigarettes cause cancer. No shit, Bethesda has bugs in their games. And to them, they're like, guys, we might have a bug problem. And everyone's like, are you kidding me?
And then they go on and say, like, but this one just works.
Yeah.
It just does. 15,
So-
like, was it 16 times the graphics been? I can't wait to see that. I'm ready for my mind to be blown.
Dude, it's more real than real.
It's You're going to make you seem like you're in a simulation every time you stop playing this game.
My life is not real. All right, now that we're in 2018, Mike, it's time to get to our top 5, which is the top 5 games of 2018.
Yes.
I feel like this is a point where normal podcasts would have like a da-da-da-da-da, or like some kind of a sound.
Well, then we have to put a little side note saying, like, top 5 for us in 2018. Not games that just came out in 2018. Just our top
You're
5.
right. You're right.
That we
so, what's the point of just running through the IGN list of top 5 games of 2018? You listen to this podcast because you like us, hopefully.
Yes.
So these are our
Because
top
we
5
don't.
games of 2018.
We don't like us. We hate us.
We have we're very self-conscious.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues. Please
So-
like us.
As Mike was going over, these are games that Mike and I personally played in 2018. So obviously neither of us played like Fallout 76 or something, so it's not like any games
Like
that we didn't
garbage
play
fire.
aren't going to show up on this list. And the other thing is that even if a game didn't come out in 2018, it's just as long as we played it in 2018, then it can go on the list. So for example, I've got one exceptionally old game here, but it's the first time I got around to playing it was last year. And so just keep that in mind. If you hear this list and you're like, what the heck?
That was out ages ago.
That game came out on Dino Crisis has been out on PlayStation 1 for 20 years now.
I hope Dino Crisis is on there.
I actually do want to get back to that series, though. I think they made 2 or 3 of them, and they're great.
Oh, really? Wow. Sorry, for some reason I've been doing that a lot lately. I heard that, like, there was a world record broken that, like, people in one spot saying, wow, from that one actor. And it was a world record for some reason. Like, okay.
Is it Owen Wilson? Is that
Owen Wilson. Yeah, and ever since I've heard that, I was like, well, that's stupid. But now I've been just saying, wow. I don't know
it's
why.
It's like with Keanu Reeves, and everyone says, like, whoa.
Yeah. So, you started last time, if I remember.
I did.
So, I start this time. Oh, yeah. Michael actually remembered. Usually I guess.
So, yep, usually it's a shot in the dark. Okay, so Mike is going to say his number 5, his number 4, his number 3.
Yeah.
It's going to switch to me. I'll say my number 5, my number 4, my number 3. Then back to Mike with his number 2, then my number 2, then Mike's number 1, then my number 1. So Mike, we'll add in like a noise sound to that later. Yeah. Mike, what is your number 5? Top 5.
So my top 5, starting from the bottom, is, once again, these are top 5, so if they're on the bottom, doesn't mean like, oh, they're garbage. It's just, just order all that stuff. So my number 5, though, is Space Pirate Trainer. It's a VR game. And it's a game that I don't own, but Ben does, because he has a VR set. Lucky son of a bitch.
Yep.
And I got to play it, and man, did I love that game. It was, of all the VR games that he had, that was the one I always wanted to play nonstop.
You know what's funny?
What?
Can I cut in here for 2 seconds?
No, yeah, go for it.
So I got this VR system. Mike said he didn't own Space Pirate Trainer, but it was his favorite game. But it's his number 5 here. So on my birthday, guess what game Mike got me for my birthday? Space Pirate Trainer. Mike, you bought me that game. You know that, right? So
I forgot I did that.
That's like when you buy your wife, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 for your anniversary. Like, hey, honey, you wanted to play this game. And she's like, I don't know what this is. And you're like, oh, well, we got it, so I'll play it anyway. It's my gift now. Like, that's basically what you did. You bought me a gift you bought me a VR game gift on my birthday so that you could fucking play it.
Basically, that's what I did.
He bought the game for me. Which, thank you, by the way. It is a really fun game, but I just wanted to point that out.
But unlike with my girlfriend, I can't just be over there. It's like kick down doors. Like, hey, Ben, I'm here to play Space Pirates, And just come in your bedroom while you're sleeping, be playing the game. Which would be pretty funny because you had your VR in your bedroom. And Amy just created one time, you just woke up and there'd just be me in your bedroom playing Space Pirates.
Get the fuck out of my room, asshole.
No, I gotta defeat the robots before they take out my spaceship.
So if people don't know this game, Mike, why don't you give just a brief description? So it's a VR game.
It's a VR game where you really stand in one spot. You can move like a couple of steps forward and backwards, but it's an
arcade shooter basically. Yeah. It's just a very fun point and shoot. You don't really move around or anything.
Yeah, you just shoot all the ships in that one round. That round's done, and the next round there's more ships and like there's more different types of enemies that come at you. And what's unique about it is that you have I think 4 or 3 different types of weapons you can use. That you can
use
switch
like
on the
6.
fly.
There's quite a bit. Yeah.
And it was just such an intense game, and it was so much fun, and like the versatilities of all the weapons. There's like a grappling hook where you can grab and you can just grab them and then just throw them on the ground or throw them against another robot. And then there was a shield that you can reflect the lasers back with. There was the pistols.
Machine guns, grenade launchers,
pistols. Yeah, so there was like the machine gun pistol, the charge up pistol where you charge up a shot, where it's a single shot, but if you charge it up, it did more damage. Then there was the shotgun, and then there was the machine gun, there was the grappling, and then there was the shields, and then the grenades. And the grenades were also remote detonated too, so you can shoot, then detonate them too as well. Yeah, and you can just like switch them on the fly, and it made it so much fun. And it was great, too, because the lasers were fast, but not fast enough where you couldn't dodge them too at the same time. And then there was like perk ups you can pick up, like just like full auto, unlimited ammo, shields, and some other stuff during while you're playing. There's also slow mo. There's like a slow motion mode, which always activated if you're about to get hit and all that stuff, which was pretty nice feature because you sometimes they'll just come out behind you, so you couldn't really get cheap shotted, which was nice. And yeah, it's just like, man, the moves that you do to avoid these lasers was insane though. You just Ben see me play. I get pretty intense and then I do a lot of weird stuff when I was playing that game.
Dude,
basically
everyone
like hop
does.
to the floor.
I remember when your girlfriend played, she could not keep her feet still. I think most of us gamers, like, we don't really think to use our body as a controller, but your girlfriend who doesn't normally play games, like, she immediately understood that, oh, my whole, like, everything I move.
Yeah.
I remember she was, like, jumping, and, like, she was almost hitting the ceiling sometimes, her arms and stuff. Like, she was everywhere. You could not keep her still. And the rest of us were just kind of, like, moving our arms and our head, but she was in it. Like,
Yeah.
it was great.
I'm so excited for the new the VR. They came with a new VR system where you don't need cameras on the outside anymore because it's all built in the headset now. I'm like, yes, I'm so excited to get that down the line. That's gonna be something I'm gonna be definitely buying.
We have a friend, Tyler. So Tyler said that he was actually going to be picking that up as well. So, fuck, that would be really cool. Because, I mean, even, I know that they've got, like, a Netflix type of setup called Big Screen, where basically you can just, like, put yourself into a movie theater. It's like a chat room, basically, and then other people join, and then you can watch a movie, like, posted on your...
Xbox did that, actually, too. Like, because, like, you know, Xbox has your avatar. You make an avatar. They're the exact same thing, when you can actually see everyone from, like, the back of their heads and all that stuff, and you can actually talk and all that.
Yeah,
so
but
that's cool.
In VR, I promise it's a lot cooler. I did it with this friend in California, and so we just like hung out and we were just kind of fucking around in VR, but also watching Rick and Morty.
Man, that's awesome. I know that there's a thing called I think Bunny Hop that I've used with my girlfriend, and it just like you Skype and you can watch movies at the same time and all that stuff. And so that's baller that you can do that in VR. Man, just VR is just so fucking cool. It's gonna change things, man. It's gonna make things so much better. Like I'm even excited to see VR in gyms too. But we're digressing.
So what's your number 4 then?
My number 4 is, I don't know if you remember this game, Ben. Though, me, and our good friend Tyler have all played this game together, and it's called Heroes of Hammerwatch. Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that game, so that's a top-down pixel dungeon crawling game where you can play with other people, and there's different classes you can play as. There's the warrior, there's a wizard, there is an archer, which I played as, and you just go through these dungeons and all that stuff together and just take out boss and all that. And it was one of the games that, like, luckily Ben showed me a list of things I actually bought and played in 2018, and that's the one that showed up, and I was like, yes. It all came back to me and all the stupid fun that we had playing this game.
That was fun, yeah. I remember
it's nothing
your character
challenging.
Was really powerful.
Yeah, the archer got crazy powerful when he gets stronger, because there's also tiers of leveling up and, like, choosing abilities. And so it's actually, for a very simple-looking game, there's a lot to it, and it is a game that it needs to be played with other people. By itself, it's okay. It's an okay game. But, man, with people, it is so much more fun. Especially if it's, like, friends. Like, really good friends and all that stuff. Because, man, we destroy that game. We beat it so fast. Because, we bought that and we beat it in... Let's see how fast we beat that game. I can actually find that out now. Let's do a quick look. Let's see. Let's go to Heroes on, because as soon as we beat it, we stopped playing it. Heroes of Hammerwatch. Well, it says you played only 2 minutes of it. That doesn't make sense.
Well, so I wasn't gonna bring this up, but I was gonna let you get into it, but Mike, there was an expansion to the game.
No.
Yeah. You're talking about the wrong game. We played that one a couple years ago.
Well, then I can we're gonna bump down. Then that's okay.
You said that you had
That's,
some honorable mentions, so why don't you throw one of those in?
So Space Pirates becomes number 4. Then number 5 is Recall. And
Robo Recall, yeah.
yeah, Ben knows this game. It's another VR game that Ben has. And then with this one is all the robots. Ben, is this game on your list too?
No.
It's not. Okay. So okay, cool. Then I was gonna say we can just start because I don't want to go to the whole thing. Then you bring it up too and just take your thunder about that game. So Robo Recall is a VR game, and then so the story of that is that civilization has now humanoid robots doing everyone's service, for them, like everything for them, and they all look the same. But then something happens where they all get taken over by a virus and they all turn against humans. And you are a recaller. You're a robo recaller, and your main job is to recall all these robots by destroying them, by scavenging them, and by basically all means necessary.
The simple explanation is there's robots running around the city and you kill them. Like that's all.
And it's
you can give as much exposition to that as you want, but that is literally what happens.
What's
robots
great
and they
about
run at
this
you.
one is it with Space Pirate Trainer is that there's multiple different weapons and every single weapon is fun. And you can take these robots, you can grab them, throw them against other robots, you can rip their arms out and beat them with them.
You can throw your guns at them, and there's some really cool things that you can do with juggling your weapons, which that was always my favorite thing.
Yeah, especially with the shotgun, because the shotgun was really powerful, but it's slow reload. But if you actually threw it and then recaught it, it was automatically reloaded, especially if you threw it at them too, and then
if you throw it at a robot, it'll bounce, it'll hit the robot and then kind of like bounce towards you again. And if you're able to catch it, like if it hits a robot, it reloads itself. So if you have a gun, it takes a while for the gun. You always just whatever you have in your hands, you just throw it away, and then you've got new guns at your on your holster. So you always just reach down to your belt and then grab the new guns.
Like the Overwatch character.
I don't know what you're getting at there, but
there's an Overwatch character with the shotguns, and all he does to reload is he just drops and pulls out new ones.
Oh, Reaper.
Reaper, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, that's a pretty good example. Is you never reload, but if you can't wait for that cooldown time, because the new guns will just spawn periodically at your waist. If you can't wait for that, what you can do is take your gun, throw it at a robot, and then if you manage to catch that gun in the air, then that will be fully reloaded. And that was like the coolest feature because it gave you a bunch of style points. It was like I've never played Devil May Cry, but people say that Devil May Cry is fun because it's not a game about killing people. It's about killing people in the most glorious way possible. And that is how Robo Recall felt to me, where like shoot two guys in the face, throw your gun over there, while you're catching it with your other hand, you take a robot by the face and rip it off, and like it's all about just very much
before he shoots at you, or if
the game is about style. Yeah,
you could even grab bullets from midair and then throw it back at them.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was really cool.
You can grab bullets. You can even use their own weapons against them too. Like there's drones, and if you grab a drone, you can actually use it as like a laser weapon too, which is awesome.
Yeah, and you can rip an arm off of a robot and beat another robot to death with it. Like that was my favorite part.
The game knew what it was too. Like the game knew it was a silly game, so the story was silly and fun as well. And so it was just overall great game. And unlike Space Pirate Trainer, you can actually move around. And the moving was, if you don't know VR, there's two types of movings. One, if you just hold down, like if you move your arms up and down, you walk forward, or there's the teleporting. In this one, it was teleporting. But it was so
the moving
efficient.
Was really good in this one.
Yeah, it was incredibly efficient because you had the ability to teleport and then choose the face of the direction you wanted to be facing as soon as you did it.
Yeah,
and it was so efficient and easy that you didn't get any motion sickness or anything at all from doing it. Because that's like apparently that's everyone's biggest issue with VR is that like that certain jolt of movement, but not actually moving messes with some people. But with this though, it never messes with you at all. It just seems so fluent, so easy to do, and man, you can see this really fast pace in this game.
I remember that's what I love about it. Another thing that was really fun was to take two robots and then make them kiss each other by like smashing their heads together, and that would kill them. But I remember that was always really fun. It's like kiss and then boom 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 boom, and just smash their faces together.
there's also like random moments in the game in like in the storyline where it's like, oh, we need to recall some of these. So like there's like a little like alien tractor beam that comes down the middle of the area, and you have to throw robots in it to complete the level. And I always had so much fun just like teleporting around, grabbing them, and just throwing them into it.
Yep.
It was just stupid fun.
Well, we should also mention, actually, so, Mike, I don't know if you know this, but Robo Recall, I think, is an Oculus Rift exclusive. I don't think that you can get it with, like, the Vive or something. So, we're talking about these games. Well, we're talking about these games, and I just want anyone who is unfamiliar with VR, because a lot of people are unfamiliar with VR. Robo Recall is an Oculus Rift exclusive if you're looking at that or anything. So just keep that in mind if you're like, oh, I want to pick this up.
Okay.
All right, Mike. What if that's everything with Robo Recall? What's your number 3?
So my number 3 then is another game that Ben knows, and that is Warhammer Vermintide 2. Yeah, that's a game that me, Ben, and also Tyler once again I gave it a good playthrough too. And if you just the basic gist of this game is that Warhammer Vermintide is a game where it's Left 4 Dead but in Warhammer style, and it's not the futuristic Warhammer. It is the back in the olden days with bows, swords, and gunpowder rifles and stuff. And that one was basically enough to it. It's It's like Left 4 Dead but in the olden days, and it's just so much fun. And you kill a shit ton of rats, and you just get in this crazy situation with your friends, try and survive, get to these points like in Left 4 Dead. And if you never played Left 4 Dead, where the fuck have you been? Seriously.
Yeah, it basically what Mike said. It is fantasy style Left 4 Dead. So wizards, elves, dwarves, magic, but hordes and hordes of not zombies but rats coming at you. And so it's just work as a team, get through it. It is honestly, it is copy paste Left 4 Dead gameplay. Like the game is fun.
Totally fine. Yeah, it's one of those
the game is fun,
that,
but it's copy paste for sure.
Yeah, and it's because what was it, DayZ? That game came out. That's a copy paste of Left 4 Dead, but I think they kind of did it poorly. I think Warhammer Vermintide 2 really kind of nailed the whole style and all that stuff, especially the uniqueness of the characters too.
Oh, not DayZ. Are you talking about Days Gone? The one for PS4 that came out recently? Because DayZ is the, that's the zombie one, but that's like online battle royale, sort of.
DayZ, and then, was it World War Z then? Was that game called then? No, talking about?
I don't know. There's so many fucking zombie games. I mean, it could have been fucking Dead by Daylight or something, honestly.
Yeah, true. But yeah, Vermintide 2...
Dying Light is what I meant. Sorry. But
yeah. So instead, though, the main difference, though, is that the enemy is these rat creatures. And then, like, there's some with miniguns, some with flamethrowers. You know, there's, like, giant hulking tanks. And it was just a stupid amount of fun. Had a lot of blast. We played it through nonstop, back and forth. Had a great time doing it. And just, once again, like, the games that really enjoyed, they're the ones I get to play with friends. And that's why it beats Space Pirates and Robo Recall. And Robo Recall, because everything's better with friends. Even the worst game ever. I mean, Ben, Forced, right? When did the fun start in that game?
Yeah, this game called Forced was terrible. It got great reviews, and then we played it, and it was shit.
It was absolute shit, but we still had fun in it because, playing with friends. So when you play a really good game with friends, it makes it even better. And so that's why it beats the 2 other games.
Yeah, it's like when you have a bad movie night or something. Like, you know that you're going to get disappointed, but you just watch it. The point that you're watching it with friends makes it fun. Yeah. So, Mike, can you go over your number 5, number 4, number 3 again? So what were they? So number 5 was what?
Number 5 is Robo Recall. And then we got number 4 as Space Pirate Trainer.
Okay, and then 2 VR titles.
Yep. And then number 3, Warhammer Vermintide 2.
Cool.
All right. The VR really made it easy for me to make the list and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's... Like, I think that this is everyone's experience with VR I think that it burns really bright and then dies out really quickly. But, like, when you first try VR, it's like, oh my god. It's like fucking plugging in the Nintendo console, the NES, for the first time and be like, what have I been doing with my life?
Yeah.
Like,
it's exactly like that. That nails that feeling.
there's nothing anywhere close to being immersive to VR. You can play the most immersive, like curved screen and like all, whatever kind of game that you're playing, it doesn't matter. The second that you step into your character's shoes in VR, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. It's so cool.
The problem that it's such a bright, fast burning candle though is the fact that like there's not basically like a Mario game. There's not a flagship game for VR yet that everyone's just like, I have to play this. And everything is much more experiential than it is like story or online. It's just like experimental. The games that there are really fun, but they're like fucking arcade games in the 80s, Like how many times can you play Pac-Man in a row before, now you're like, fuck, I want to play some Skyrim or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to my list here, my number 5, which is a great transition from Mike's list. Mine is Vermintide 2 at number 5. So, once again,
nice.
Mike basically hit the nail on the head here. It was just really fun with the group that I was playing with. And you're going to notice this trend with a lot. If this is your first or second podcast of listening to us, that is always a huge thing with me, is what group of friends am I playing it with? Yeah. So we already talked about Vermintide 2, so I'm just going to skip over it. My number 4 is one of the 2 single-player games that I have on this list. Excuse me, a little burpee. My number 4...
burp.
Yeah, a little burpee. Dude, I am so hungover. Last night was rough.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, that's a whole other story. We don't have... We'll get into that later. Okay, so... Sorry, number 4 is a game from way back when. This game is Final Fantasy IX. So... It's the first time I've played Final Fantasy IX for like an hour or two in the past when I was like 8 years old or something. Like, this is a game that I couldn't get past the first monster, the first boss, which is like this plant thing. It's so easy to beat now, but looking back, I remember I was like, fuck this shit.
So everyone knows, which one is this Final... Because there's so many different Final Fantasies. What is this Final Fantasy with the main character? So everyone knows.
This is the last one on PlayStation 1. The character, he has a tail. It kind of opens up with like a floating pirate ship kind of style to it.
So this is when you play as the Monkey Boy as the main character.
I'm trying to remember what the main character's name is. I can remember all the other characters.
I remember all the other characters.
Steiner, Vivi, but I can't remember the main character's name.
Yeah, because you can always change the main character's name anyways. So
yeah. But anyway, that game was awesome. One of the best parts about the game is that I added in a mod where, like, a really important thing in that game is called Triple Triad. It's a game inside of a game. It's a card game. And that is actually pretty fun. Like, everyone talks about how great The Witcher is for having Gwent and having Thronebreaker, but this is one of the games that started that trend of, like, can we do a game inside of a game? And it's just like a fun thing to add on top of it. So usually you can just get absolutely fucked and having to just auto-save and auto-load all the time over and over again looking for save points, because if you start on a losing streak with Triple Triad, every time you lose, someone gets to take one of your cards. And if you have a couple good cards and someone takes one of your great ones, it's like, well, fuck. Like,
that's pretty brutal, too.
It is. I mean, because there's only, like, one instance where you can get specific cards. And so if you play with the card like that, then obviously if you lose, the person's going to grab that one because it's, like, the super ultra rare one.
Yeah.
And then it's gone forever. So usually if you play on PlayStation, you have to, like, verse someone in Triple Triad, and then if you lose, you gotta hit the restart button and run back from the save point, and if you did any story or dialogue or anything, you've got to redo that and then play Triple Triad. The really great thing about the autosave and autoload mod was just that I could just blow through all that bullshit. Like, I lose the game, it made me able to save anywhere. So, like, the second before I started the match is I would save, I'd play, I would lose like 17 times in a row because I fucking sucked for the longest time, and then auto-load back in, and then play him, and eventually get like his Cactor or whatever the fuck he had.
So, do you think that takes out of a lot of some video games, though? The ability to save, like, anywhere? What's your idea? Like, what's
Sort
your thought
of.
on that? Because like
It's
I like it and don't like it at the same time.
it's a tough call. Like there's games like Dishonored where I think that you should go back to the start because Dishonored is very much a game about figuring out how to get from one place to another. If they make several different paths, if it's supposed to be very fluid in the game style, then you shouldn't be able to save anywhere.
Yeah,
Like that's
what
like
I-
saying if okay, never mind. I was gonna say a game, but it's in my top 5 list, so I don't want to give it away.
See,
But,
what I like about it though is that, like, what I like is like how games now, especially like systems, you're able to pause anytime you want to, like the PS4, the Switch, and just turn it off. And it's technically its own save in that way. But if you die, you have to go back to a checkpoint, which I appreciate.
Yeah, well, that's like standby mode. I mean,
Which is
it's
the
the
best thing
equivalent of
ever
leaving your
invented.
PlayStation on
So
overnight
that's
or
what
something.
maybe that's what they need to invent though now. Is that they need to invent two types of saves though. There's one save where you can just save anywhere, and then you can just stop what you're doing, and go do your daily lives. Because that'd be great for adults, especially people like us. We can't just sit and just play a game all the way through. We have things to take care of. We have relationships, jobs, laundry to do. I have stuff sitting in the laundry right now. They're getting all wrinkly, and I feel really bad about it too. But oh well.
All right.
But it's so nice about this, like the ability to turn off your system or to put it to standby and leave it. And I
Well, yeah.
really wish they had something like that for the PC. And I'd love to have like a standby, just like, hey, this is not a save, so if I died, I'll go back to whatever checkpoint, but I can still like have this, I can still come back here at any time I want to though, because it's just like
Yeah.
a nice little thing. That I wish that more things like I wish they put this on the PC. I want this on the PC so badly because man, just having the ability to walk away from a game and not worrying about it when I come back, it's still there. Is why I love playing on the Switch and like the PS4 way more on the PC. And like the PC really needs to get on that. I think that the PC needs to put that feature in their system too, as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they need like a standby mode or something for PC games.
And I think PC can do it way better. But continue.
Sure. So, Final Fantasy IX, I feel weird kind of like hyping this game up that's damn near 20 years old at this point. But, so it's a good game. If you've played it, you know why it's good. If you haven't played it yet, I can hardly imagine I'm about to convince you to start now. But,
Honestly, the only thing that ages with the games are the graphics. So, if like, and those are already pixel style, and pixel is still a huge fave with people today, so...
well,
even
if you
it's
get
at
an
all, it's
emulator
still good.
online... If you get an emulator online, you can change the in-game resolution, which helps immensely. Once
Oh,
again, another
really?
thing that you can do with
Wow.
PC. Yeah, so it doesn't make like images smoother, but it makes the characters and the environment smoother. All right, so let's see. My number 3, which is my only VR title on the list, is Super Hot VR. So that
Really?
game.
I'm shocked to
Yeah.
hear that.
I thought that it was great. Once again, it's with the people that you play with. Technically, Super Hot is a single-player game, but the way that we played is that we always would take turns, and people that are outside of the VR headset, they're kind of like laughing and telling you what to do and stuff like. So it was very much a cooperative experience, even though it was a
Okay.
single-player game.
Okay, that makes more
And-
sense now.
Yeah, and I mean, fuck, that game is unbelievable. There's so many things that you could do in Super Hot VR. I especially love the Horde mode in it. That was my favorite. That was probably why it was better than Space Pirate Trainer and Robo Recall, the one that you mentioned, is because I really liked the idea that these guys keep spawning in, you're trapped in a room. Like Space Pirate Trainer was very similar to that, where it just had levels and levels, and I like that one probably second best. But Super Hot, the slow motion is just one of the coolest features ever. And to have that in VR was, like, unbelievable. So, we've already hyped up VR enough, so I don't want to get too much into Super Hot VR. But basically, as a brief description, the game Super Hot is whenever you're moving, everything else moves, but if you stop moving, if you stand completely still, then time also stops. So depending on how quick you're moving is how fast that time moves. And dude, you feel like freaking, Neo from the Matrix when you're like dodging and weaving bullets. You can cut bullets with a sword. You can do all this crap. Like, it's so freaking cool. Whoa. So that's why Super Hot gets it for me, is just dodging bullets. I mean, I remember some of my friends like getting into the fucking fetal position on the ground or something, hiding underneath a desk and like shooting over their heads. And like you stare at them when they're like out of the headset, and they're just like, crouched in a corner of the room with a headset on, like with their waving their hand over their head, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, the game is so funny.
Do you remember that one time we were in your bedroom and then someone was playing on your VR and they were doing that, they waved the arm and then they threw one of your controllers right at me, and at that time I was playing on your Switch, looking down, and it literally buzzed the top of my head and slammed into like the windowsill. I almost got like knocked out officially by that hit.
Yeah, there's been a couple VR incidents. Someone threw one of the controllers. Yeah.
Oh.
So someone threw one of the controllers at Mike, which was the first incident, and then the second incident is someone ran their fist through my fan. They broke the light on my fan. I'm surprised they didn't get cut or anything, but yeah, he went up to, I think he was playing Robo Recall, and he went to punch a robot like that was jumping on him, and he just ran his fist into the light. But anyway, so
good times.
Once again, my number 5, my number 4, my number 3. So Vermintide 2 at number 5, Final Fantasy 9 at number 4, and then Super Hot VR at number 3. Mike, what's your number 2?
And just by the way, after all those assaults on those controllers, they still work, right? Like, that's what the surprising thing is.
Yeah,
there's a bug, and yeah, that's what's amazing. My number 2, and Ben knows this one, and once again, it's another game that I played with Ben and Tyler, and it seems to be a kind of recurring thing, and it is called Divinity Original Sin 2. And man, is this game just fun. If you ever played Dungeons & Dragons, or you ever wanted to play it, play this game, because it is exactly like playing Dungeons & Dragons with friends, and that's what makes it so cool. It's a game that has a rich, rich story, and you can do anything you want in it too, which just makes it so fucking funny and great. As you're just talking to people, listening to their Jeep story, and then you have your friend come up right behind them as they're telling the sad story, stealing all the stuff from their pockets, or they're standing right behind them as they're telling me their terrible story of how their parents are dead, and he just buried them right there, and then your friends are just going up to the grave and just unburying those two exact same parents, and you're just talking to this person horrid as this happens, and you're trying to make them stop, but they just don't stop. They just keep on going.
Hey, this bitch had some jewelry on her, all right.
One of them had a really good dagger, actually, that Tyler used for a while. I remember.
Yeah. Well,
and there's also just like, it's just so good.
To paint the idea of what Divinity is if you're going to think of a game, take the world of Skyrim. So in the sense that you can rob, you can sell, you can kill anyone or anything or whatever. So start as that as the base. Then put it into like a Diablo style isometric, so third person, kind of like a God eyes view sort of. And then the last thing is make it turn-based and make it a multiplayer. So everyone can run around in their own free time, whatever. It's not like you have to take turns the entire game. But once you get into combat, then combat becomes turn-based. But otherwise, you can have two people in completely opposite sides of the game across the continent, and they can still be playing online in the same world, whatever. Yeah. And if someone gets into combat, it doesn't affect anyone else until they enter like the general vicinity combat zone. Yeah. So anyway, that is the basic premise of Divinity 2 is Skyrim with multiplayer and turn-based.
And we didn't even finish that game, but we have over like 55 hours played in that game. Still.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be like an 80-hour game or something like that, maybe even longer.
And it doesn't drag out either. Every story that you run into is interesting and cool. And right now, like, I've been playing solo, and I was playing solo beforehand too by myself. Well, like, because we couldn't always play together, so when we weren't playing together, I was in my own solo campaign. And all the characters that they have pre-made in there have amazing voice actors. They have amazing stories built into them. And I'm just having fun actually exploring all their stories. And I'm actually
Yeah.
disappointed that I actually picked a character in my solo play, because I'm actually more interested to see how that character, like how they had this character, like actually what they want him to be in. That's how good these stories are. These characters are written. I feel like I'm ruining the character by playing him. Like, I want to be experiencing it with them and not being that person, which is really weird for me to say that.
Mike touches on a really good point here. So basically, yeah, the stories in Skyrim and the stories in Fallout, like Bethesda games, you just kind of fucking skip through the dialogue. It's like, oh, can I persuade this guy to pay me 50 extra bucks to do this job or to kill this person? No, Divinity takes it so much further. So depending on who you talk to, you
When
can
you talk to
persuade,
them.
like, yep. So when you talk to them, how you talk to them. Some people, they can even talk to animals in this game. So if you get an ability that you can talk to animals, you can like typically you'll like walk into a room and then like these guard dogs will attack you, but there's an opportunity where you can like talk to the guard dogs and then they'll help you take on these other guys, and then it's you and the guard dogs killing other people. Like, there's a lot of really cool options. Other times you'll talk to someone and they'll tell you like, here, let me show you this secret treasure that I found over here. Like, the options for dialogue are so much better than any other role-playing game that you've ever played, and it actually makes me want to just do like a completely non-aggressive, like a passive gameplay route basically of the game.
Yeah.
I
Because
mean, there's so
much
it
fun
is a
talking
game
to
on its
people.
own.
It is just
Yeah.
fun to talk to people. Because you just don't know what their background's going to be. You don't know how they're going to react to you. And it just, it's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 2 though, is Divinity Original Sin 2. Why can I not pronounce that? I do not know why. But yeah.
Yeah,
What's your
I
number
mean-
2, Ben?
My number 2 is God of War for PlayStation 4. Not the remake, but the newest version. So, for the longest time, I'd consider this game my favorite game of 2018. But once I sat down and I had my full list in front of me, that I had spent some time, tweaking together this week,
I'm actually
I
very
realized
surprised to hear this, because like you've been telling me and Tyler that this was going to be your number 1 too, forever. So I'm very excited
I've
to
been
hear your number
saying
1.
it for a year. God of War, I was blown away by God of War. I mean, it is top tier. It is 10 out of 10. The only reason that it's number 2 is simply because, I mean, I look back on it, and I look back at the game that is my number 1, and I think, what game was I smiling more? What game was I enjoying more? And like God of War, I was so focused on, and it was great and it was fun. But there are some times that it's frustrating. There are some times, like the beginning feels a little slow, and it totally makes up for it at the end. The game is still a perfect 10. Like, I've got nothing wrong with God of War. But the reason that this game comes in number 2 is simply because I looked back and I thought, what game did I spend more time in? What game did I have just much more fun in? What game was I like excited to finish up with work for the day and then run to? So God of War is only slightly below my number 1, but so we'll talk about God of War for a bit now. Sorry. So God of War, I never played the original God of War games. I have a friend that did play the original, and he said that he was a little he was taken back by the new route that they took, and I can understand that a lot of people would be, but I didn't really have any sort of expectation going in, and the game came out. I heard it was unbelievable. Like, this wasn't a game I was counting down the days for, but I think I saw like Zero Punctuation come out with his review, and I was like, oh shit, God of War is out. And I looked up some other reviews, and once again, I mean, we're talking like 9.5, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever, all these super high ratings. And so the reason that God of War was so great to me is because it was almost a sleeper hit to me. Like, I know that sounds silly to a franchise that is huge, but this is a game that I gave zero interest in before, or a series I gave zero interest in before, and to go from my lowest expectations of like, this is a usual fucking hack and slash, to going to like, no, this game has everything. The story is one of the best stories I've ever heard in a game. There are twists, there are turns. Every time you think, oh, the game is coming to an ending, no, you're only halfway through the game. You've got to do an extra 15 hours of gameplay. The combat system. There's light hit and there's light attack and heavy attack, and for the longest time there's more than that. There's like additional combos and stuff you can use, and I was like, I don't want to fucking learn the combos. Like, you gotta hit L1, R2. Like, you've got to like hold all these different buttons at the same time. And I was like, I don't even know what the fucking spells do. No, even though I didn't think I was going to use any of that, if you want to beat everything in that game, you have to know everything. You have to, it forces you, in the best way possible, it forces you to use every single opportunity that you have, every skill, every ability, everything that they give to you. It doesn't hand you shit. Like, you have to earn all of your kills, basically. And that's why God of War is my number 2. I mean, it succeeded. It superseded every expectation I had. I mean, 1,000 times over. God of War was unbelievable.
Nice.
And that's my spiel.
Yeah, I finally got a PS4 in like 2018, so I'm really excited to finally pick up that game to play it. I think I'm either going to be picking up that one after Resident Evil 7 or Spider-Man after Resident Evil 7. But yeah, so
like,
that's
I
your
know
number
the game
2
is only... Yeah, well, God of War, I think, it's been, like, historically $20 a couple times, but if you wanted to, like, I could just mail it out to you, bud. Like, it's not a problem.
I would kind of, because, like, I already got Resident Evil 7 mailed in by Tyler, and I don't know, maybe that's what's keeping me from playing, I don't know, but I kind of I like owning stuff, too. Like, I have a PS4, I should own my own God of War as well, and all that.
Yeah,
I
and
appreciate
once you
the offer,
make that investment, it pushes you to play it a bit more.
Exactly.
Like, I paid money for this, I need to get my money's worth.
That's why I think maybe why I'm struggling with Resident Evil 7 is that there's no real investment for me. I didn't pay for it. A friend is letting me borrow it. So
yeah,
I'm going to see how I feel. Because, like, and plus, like you said, like, God of War is only $20. It's been out for a long time. Especially for hard copies, those drop in prices so fast. So
right.
I'm not too worried about breaking an arm and leg to getting one. But on to
What's
my
your
number 1. And that is
one?
going to be Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game. Yep. That one is one of the first open world games that I've had complete fun from beginning to end, exploring, doing everything, doing all the side stuff, fighting the final boss, all the way to that point. I never had so much fun before in an open world game, because I've realized about myself is that I do not like open world games. I do not find them fun. I lose interest in them so fast, it's ridiculous. But I bought Breath of the Wild in 2018, and I played that game nonstop. I destroyed that fucking game. That game was great all the way through. I loved it. I don't know. I'm even debating about getting a DLC for it too, but I can tell you this much. I got so fucking pumped when they said they're making another Breath of the Wild. Like, well, it's not going to be Breath of the Wild, but it's the next one coming out. I'm like, fuck yes, bring it in. I'll suck a dick for it. I'm so excited for that. I'm like, please. It's like Far Cry. I used to like Far Cry. Oh, another Far Cry. It's not a bad open world game, but once again, it's like they come all the time. But I can tell you this much: I'll be guaranteeing you, I'll be buying every single Breath of the Wild or Zelda game that comes out from here on out, though, because man, Zelda is like one of the old games that have series, and every single time I play a Zelda game, I fucking love them. And Breath of the Wild, a whole different style, an open world style. And man, is it still fun. And sure, it has its issues with breakable weapons, but when you play that game, you forget about that issue. You're just exploring, seeing things, and just doing stuff. Damn, just so much fun.
Breath of the Wild, this has always been a really interesting game for us because you like it a lot. To you were blown away by the game. To me, I had the exact opposite reaction. Like, I always like talking about Breath of the Wild with you because you and I had completely different experiences. And, I mean, this is why you and I have a pretty good I think we have a pretty good podcast.
Oh,
we have pretty good
podcast.
talks. It's the best podcast, obviously. But this is why I always like talking about games with you, is because with you and me, it's not really an echo box. We always have different opinions. And Breath of the Wild undoubtedly was probably the most controversial title between you and me. I hated it. I know that is like a sin to a lot of people because the game was praised out of its mind. But it's always been a fun conversation to chat about it because Mike loves it. I couldn't care less for it. And we just had completely different experiences playing it.
Yeah, it was one of those games like for me, like you said, that your number one is about. I was excited to play it. Couldn't wait to have time to sit down and play it, and I always played in the handheld mode, and then like when I switched over to like handheld mode was the best mode to play in. But man, just playing the TV though, especially because like when you play on TV, it ups the graphics a little bit. It's so fucking beautiful. The art style, just that they went
Man,
with, pinpoints it. So good.
A game that you can't wait to play that is also handheld. That's a dangerous combination,
Oh
man.
yeah, it is. It caused some problems in my relationship a little bit because it's like we're gonna do something like no, I'm good. I'll just sit here and play my game.
When you sleeping in the same bed with your girlfriend, but you thinking about Zelda, when you thinking about another girl, gotta save that princess.
Yeah. Oh, so good. But man, yeah, it was just, especially because it's a single. It's man, it just so good. It just I just loved it. Can't beat it for me for a good single player game, and being a open world game. That's what really kicks on the top of the list. Of it, me actually getting to an open world game, it's just damn.
I'm
Just
excited
damn.
for someone who didn't like Breath of the Wild. I'm actually pretty excited. I'm probably not gonna buy it, but I want to see where it goes. Breath of the Wild 2, like the
Yeah.
second game coming out, so it's gonna follow. It's gonna be a direct sequel, so it's gonna follow the story. On top of that, they said that they're using generally the same map of Hyrule, but they're gonna switch it up. Maybe like, something is gonna happen where like everything is gonna be drastically changed, but it's gonna be, from what I've heard, the same basic layout.
Which is fun with me because I haven't picked it up in a long time now because it's one of those things I've played to the teeth. I've done everything that I could do, so I haven't played in a long time. So even though that does suck and is kind of lazy programming in my mind, I'm still pumped for that because once again haven't played in a while. So especially when this
But
one comes out, it'll be even longer.
So I saw a map of Fortnite Season 1 recently and Fortnite Season 10, and it is stupidly different. I mean, there are meteors hitting the ground. There's big swords sticking out of the atmosphere, out of the ground. Like, the amount of changes that they went through. Like, Fortnite Season 1 was just like a couple towns, and now it's like fantasy world, and it's crazy, and there's like things are all over the place there, and that is technically the same layout map. Like it's not like there's an ice world, there's a desert world in it now. So I'm with you on the side that I think that they are going to do a lot. Even if it's going to be the same general layout, I think that they're going to just make it look completely different. So
Yeah.
I think that I trust Nintendo. I don't
Yeah,
think
me
they're going to
too.
do a lazy thing. But the reason that I'm really excited about the second one is I didn't like the first game, but they did this similarly with Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Sorry, Ocarina of Time, and with Majora's Mask. That was the same graphics. It was the same everything basically. They did have a new map, but Majora's Mask, I mean, in my eyes, was such an improvement on Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time was a really good game, but Majora's Mask, no comparison.
I never
loved
played Majora's Mask. I missed that.
Fuck
I missed the
off.
opportunity. I really did. No, I don't think you can go back to it though. Just because.
All right,
it's a
that's the
little
end of our
old.
podcast. Goodbye.
It's
I'm
the
never
end of our
talking to you again,
friendship
Mike.
too.
Ended the friendship right there. No, but to get what I'm to
No, I
get
get
to
what
my
you're saying.
point is
That makes me excited though. That makes me even more excited for this now, knowing that they were exactly the same maps and stuff, and found it was actually still better. I think that's awesome. I'm pretty pumped to hear this now.
Yeah, like I loved Majora's Mask. Ocarina of Time was good, but I loved Majora's Mask, and it sounds like they're kind of doing a repeater with Breath of the Wild, similarly to how they handled Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. So even though I didn't like the first game, it gets me a little excited and it's piqued my interest of like, oh, what are they gonna do? Like they have this very similar scenario that they had during the N64 era, and is it going to be just as promising? So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's so easy to compare Breath of the Wild with Ocarina of Time. Like, they are the fucking flagship titles of the console. You could say Mario 64 is up there as well, but everyone owned Ocarina of Time for N64. Everyone owns Breath of the Wild for Switch.
I had the gold cartridge.
Fuck off, Mike. No, I'm kidding. Me too, actually. But it is like you could draw so many similarities between the two that it makes me think that they are going to try something in the same general realm of like the same feel, like not the same feel of Majora's Mask, but in the sense that they're going to try the same yet tweak the formula.
I hope they
that's
add the
what gets me
motorcycle in
excited.
it for free. You don't have to pay DLC for it. That'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was a motorcycle.
I didn't pay for the DLC. I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm good. It's like I
Yeah.
loved it so much, but I don't know if I was like, but they're probably just putting a motorcycle in. I don't really care about that. A horse is fine enough with me. So,
Yeah, it's like horse armor for Skyrim. It's like it's cool,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna pay extra money for it.
exactly. It was the same boat too. As much as I loved it, I was like, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
But but that was my number one. Ben, what is yours? I'm actually really excited to hear this because it's beating God of War. I'm pretty pumped to hear like what's gotten you more excited over it.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of time today, and I was thinking about it, and I thought, what is the game that I just had the most fun playing last year? And God of War was great. God of War, was exceeded all my expectations. But the difference is that God of War I went in having low expectations and exceeded it. A game that I went into having very high expectations, and then the game still exceeded those expectations, was Divinity Original Sin 2, what Mike already brought up.
Nah.
Yep, Divinity 2. It was so good.
It still is.
I'm sure that this has happened a couple times where like like last week I said Borderlands or something was my number 3 on my list and it was Mike's number 1. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that Mike was in the same boat last week where like I'm talking about Borderlands and Mike is like sitting in his chair like I got so much to fucking say about Borderlands
Yeah.
but I don't want to want to
Yeah.
like spoil my number 1. I want to wait for it. Like
Yeah.
now that we're finally here at my number 1, I feel like I was just kind of taking a back seat listening to Mike, but fuck, Divinity 2 is so good. Like
So much fun.
everything about it. I mean, like you can do everything with everything. There was a strat that I saw recently where instead of having like a normal system where someone is a mage, someone is a rogue, someone is a hunter or whatever, like someone made up their own class called Barrelmancer, where basically they filled up barrels of oil, carried them around, waited for monsters to fight them, and then took out all the barrels of their inventory, placed them around the map, and then just shot one arrow, and the barrels exploded and killed everything. Like he was able to make barrels so frequently and so easily that he just made up his own class, calling it a Barrelmancer, because all he did was just use oil barrels to kill everything every time. Like
That's great.
It's shit like that. That's the funniest thing.
Oh.
I mean, you can do anything in that game, as Mike was saying. You cast like some of the coolest things were the non-combat abilities. I remember I had a character who was a necromancer, a summoner, and so I could summon like totems, and depending on where the totem was, it would summon a different totem. If I just summoned it on the ground, it would be a wood totem. If I summoned it where an enemy had died, it would be a blood totem, because enemies, when they die, they bleed and they make a pool of blood. If Mike's skeleton character walked over that same enemy next turn, he would gain health, because skeletons gain health from standing in blood or something. Like
Yeah, it was a
if
perk I had, yeah. Absorb blood.
Yeah.
It was awesome. For
yeah,
health.
if there was poison, you could throw poison on the ground, or an enemy could throw poison on the ground. If I wanted to get rid of that poison, I could cast a rain cloud, and then it would wash away the poison on the ground, and then I could cast a totem, like a poison totem if there was still poison there, or I could even cast a water totem in the water. Like, the amount of shit that you could do in that game was unbelievable. There was a way that you could hide in fog, too. If there was a fire, you casted rain on that, then the fog would come up, and it would make your visibility harder to hit something. I think that was actually the case.
You cut your vision, and so people couldn't see you, and you couldn't see them. I think unless you had like ability to do so. And then there was height advantages too, like for archery. If you were a higher level of playing, you get a bonus damage and stuff. Distance wise too, and just necromancy, summoning the dead up. Oh, so good.
The last and final thing about this too is that this was legitimately a class-based game. If you try to play any other game online, it's really, really fucking hard to not be the person that's doing the damage. Like, to have a proper support, to have a proper healer, to have a proper DPS and whatever. But no, like, I was the summoner and the healer. My goal was to heal people, to disrupt people. Like, I had teleportation, so if someone, like Mike was tanking an enemy, my goal was whenever it was close to the enemy's turn to take a swing at Mike, I would teleport him as far away from Mike so he would use a lot of action points to run back over to Mike. Like, there was never a point where, like, I was the one who... Like, in Skyrim, you can always revert to just, like, doing melee damage if you absolutely need to. Same thing in Fallout.
Yeah.
But no, as a summoner, I knew I would be straight up fucked if I ever went melee. Like, there is no incentive for me to go melee. And that is the same thing with everything. Even the fucking healer has a really fun job where, like, I did some displacement, but she did buffs. And it's, like, really cool buffs. It's not just, like, you know, oh, you get +1 damage, he gets -1 damage. Like, there's really cool elemental things that can change that totally alter how the game is played. And the way that they were just able to make every single class in that game exciting and fun, that is something new. I mean, that was the best part about it.
I completely forgot to tell this too. Like, there's like random things that happen. You're just in the story wise too. Like, Ben decided to go sleep with a hooker, and the hooker stole all of his stuff. It was great, and then he lost everything, and so he had to rebuild his character because of this one instance.
Yeah,
he had no choice.
The game doesn't pitch you any softballs. There was an instance where we were like level 20. You know, we were pretty far in the game, and I lost every single thing on my guy. I was walking around in a fucking tunic. And, like, before that, I had, like, oh, your staff gives you +2 to, like, all your skills and everything. Like, my guy was fucking loaded. I was easily... I mean, Mike, feel free to disagree, but I was the most OP character in our group.
Yeah.
I could
he
cast,
was the
like, 5
totems
totems at once or some
shit.
shit.
We needed him. Just those totems and his damage, because he also carried a crossbow, too, as well. He was dishing the damage, and we needed him.
And
like,
ever since then
was a struggle. Every single battle then we still won, but man, it was just an extra struggle.
And from that person stealing all my stuff, I mean, there was no way we could get it back. Like, we killed the guys, we raided the room, we looked for everything.
We
it
killed
was just
the hooker
gone.
too.
Yeah, well, of course we killed the hooker, Mike. But so from that one instance, we just decided we're sticking with it. Like, we told ourselves at the beginning when we were playing with the game, we said, if something bad happens, we're playing this as a group. We're not going to autosave and autoload our way through this story. We want to roll with the punches, basically. And, of course, I'm the one that loses fucking everything. But from that thing that happened, I had to basically rebuild my character, and there were some drastic changes I made to my build, and that completely changed the fundamental style of my character's gameplay. And in that sense, that was really cool, because I had a character that was an archer beforehand, and then afterwards I couldn't find a bow, so I switched out all of my archery skills, and then I went into something else, and then I started building my character that way, and I just stuck with that. So that was fucking cool to me, that this one thing happened, and we stuck with it, and I just completely changed classes, basically. I mean, that was easily my favorite
and that's
part.
It's like the same thing. It's just like the story is so rich. You just never know what's going to happen around the corner. You never know who you're going to talk to. I remember just, like, talking to someone. It's like, oh, you know, I'm homeless, but, you know. I remember, like, Tyler came across this homeless person. Tyler came across this person. He's like, oh, I'm homeless. Give me some money. And he gave him some, like, to help feed my dog and stuff. And so, like, the dogs went to sleep. He gave him money. And so later I was talking to the dog, and I found out the dog was wearing, like, a collar that was stabbing and making the noise. So I was like, I kicked the homeless person out of the town and stuff and took off his money. And then I just let the dog go. And because I did that, the dog showed me this cool new area where we got, like, a bonus, like, fight of, like, some, like, under this area or something like that. It was just nuts. I was like, oh shit, this dog's telling me. So I said, brought everyone over and said, hey guys, I got a quest for us to do because of this dog, you know, and this dumb homeless person. Of course, I didn't get told back his money.
Mike, it sounds like you and I have plenty of time lately. I think that you and I should pick up our game of Divinity 2 after we're done with Diablo in a week or two.
Yeah, I think I should be able to do that.
Because we had a game that was just us two. That's another great thing about Divinity is, let's say you're playing with 4 people one day.
You can play with one person the next day or 3 people the next day. Like, it gives you a group of 4, and then whoever is the host of the game, he just dictates who gets to play as who. And you can play as more than one person. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you just have 2 people one day, then each person gets half
One
of
of the
group.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's happened a lot with me. Is like usually like they would play, then Ty would play without me because I just didn't have time to do it. I would be working and all that stuff, so I had no choice.
Yeah, that's what we
And
told
so they
them.
would
You're so busy. You know?
yeah. So it's like, oh, we're just playing these odd times. We're so sorry, Yeah. But I'm glad that made it your top list. I was really worried. I was wondering. I wasn't worried. I was really curious on what was going to be your top, and I was like happy to hear that was the one. Because that was stupid fun.
God of War was fun. No doubt God of War was great. But I look back to, like, how many times we were just howling in our seats and how many times, how many hours. I mean, we must have played, like, several games that
Tyler,
lasted
the
at least
fucking
5
necromancer
hours.
guy, just stealing fucking everything from everything. Anything he could steal, he would. And it was the funniest shit. And it gets in trouble so many times as people just run up to his room and like, hey, did you steal something? Let me search you. And it's like, fucking Tyler, what are you doing? Why is he searching me? What did you take? He was like, I'm like, nothing. I'm like, Tyler.
Our friend Tyler stole something from someone once, and then they blamed Mike's character, and so Tyler stole, like, all this jewelry from someone, and then Mike ended up in jail.
I ended up in
That was
jail.
one of the better parts.
I was like, what the fuck? And so they had to figure out how to get to me, and I had to figure out how to get to them. So luckily I was undead, and so I could pick my way out, and I was like, okay. And then luckily I found the chest for my stuff, but then we were still in 2 separate parts of the map. I was in a jail cell under a fortress of, like, people who wanted to kill us. It's like, where am I supposed to go? And, like, we had to find a secret route to come get me. It was so funny. It's like, well, I guess I'm going to sit in this prison cell while you guys look away how to get to me and all that stuff. It was so good.
Yeah. But anyway, so to go through our top 5 again, my number 5 is Vermintide 2. My number 4 is Final Fantasy 9. Number 3, Super Hot VR. Number 2, God of War for PS4. And number 1, Divinity 2. And we played that on PC.
Yeah, and so then mine are number 5, Robocall. Number 4, Space Pirates Trainer. Number 3, Warhammer Vermintide 2. Number 2, Divinity Original Sin 2. And then, which is kind of funny, no pun intended. And number 1, Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm. So, Mike, I'm not sure if you picked up some disappointing games of 2018, but I did. So I've got my top 5 disappointing games.
I got, like, some. Once again, I didn't, like... I never really played many bad games, though, to be honest. I got pretty lucky this year. So it's kind of... My list is kind of skimpy.
Well, this can be kind of like a quick run through. I mean, if my timer is correct, we're damn near up at 2 hours already.
Yeah,
so we can run through. Basically, we didn't want to say the worst games of 2018 because we had to have some interest in them to actually play them. You know, like, obviously neither of us played Fallout 76 because we heard the game is shit. So, like, these games, we're not going to say the worst games of 2018. We're going to say the most disappointing games because we bought them, we wanted them to be something good, and then they just didn't fulfill, basically.
Yeah.
So, once again, I can run through these. There's not much to say except that just, like, there wasn't much to them. My number 5 is Darksiders. So, this is a series that's been out for a long time, Darksiders. You get to play as the Horseman War. And basically, the thing that sucked about this game, I played it up until the last hour. Like, I was going up to the end boss, and I was like, I don't even fucking care. And I dropped it, and I kept it on my computer for 2 weeks, and then I looked at it, and I was like, do I honestly care? And I said no, so I uninstalled it. But I was, like, walking up to the final boss, and I just didn't care to finish it. But the reason that I didn't really like the game is...
That's pretty brutal.
I'm sure that it used to be good back in the day, but the problem is that the combat was so simplified. This is a hack and slash in its very essence, where I just had a button where instead of hitting light attack, you just hold light attack, and then your guy, like, does a spin and hits everything, and then, like, slams down and creates a crater. And so all you had to do was that move over and over again. So all I did was just walk up, hold X, and then that was it. And after that, I was like, this game is retarded. So, number 5, Darksiders. I was expecting it, not that I expected it to be exactly like God of War, but I was hoping that it would urge me to use other abilities, the same way that God of War urged me to use my other abilities, but it just never reached that level of difficulty, or, like, it was never a crucial moment to try anything else other than this one spinning sword move.
Spin the wheel.
I've got a couple of these that are controversial. Mike, I'm just gonna blow through all 5 of them if that's okay for me.
No,
then
go
you
for
can
it.
say
No,
yours.
yeah. Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
my number 4 is A Hat in Time. A lot of people really liked this game, but the problem that I had with it was that I don't know if I was just uninterested at the time that I was playing it, but it felt like all the missions were just not. They didn't really flow from one to the other. The maps, they felt really cool, but I'm not sure if you like revisit the maps later or something, but it seems like there was so much to each level, but you never got to like properly appreciate how much there was to each level. So it just felt like it was all over the place, and that it didn't really feel good to like explore. There wasn't really an incentive to explore too much. Number 3 is a game that you probably haven't heard of, Mike, but it's called Tales of Berseria.
Yep, never heard of that one.
So it's like an anime game where it kind of plays out like Final Fantasy XI, where it's not turn-based combat, but like you get close to something and then you can start fighting it. But the monster is just free roam around the open map. I found the control scheme on this one really weird. People said that this game was really fun, but I couldn't get into it. And this comes on my disappointing list, but at the same time, I didn't really have high expectations for it to begin with. So it wasn't the biggest disappointment, but it still kind of sucked because Darksiders and A Hat in Time, I still played for a good amount of the game. Tales of Berseria, I played for like 2 hours, and this is a game I went out of my way to buy. I paid like $15 for it. The other games were pretty cheap at the time, and so it was disappointing because how much money I spent and how much little time investment I spent. Number 2 is Ori and the Blind Forest. So I mentioned this game last week to Mike, but basically the one problem that this game had, everything was cool about it. Or sorry, I didn't mention this to Mike last week. I mentioned it to our 2 podcasts ago. I talked to Mike about this. And Ori and the Blind Forest, the saving mechanic was it just
garbage.
Destroyed the game for me. Yeah, so you have to manually save every time, and that's a pain in the ass because it forces you to choose between you can get abilities that are like, oh, blow up this wall, but it uses the same resource as if you want to make a save point. So it's like, do you want to play it safe?
When games do that, like Resident Evil 1 had that, you needed to find like typewriter ink or something like that to save. I'm like, that's fucking retarded. It's like, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm stupid.
Yeah, like they were slapping you on the wrist for not exploring. Like if you decided to save, then you don't get to see what's behind that wall. And I hate it when I can't 100% a game, because then I've got to fucking go back and go through all that shit. Like, I don't want to do that.
Unless
and then
it's really fucking good. It sounds like it wasn't that good.
Yeah, but the biggest thing about the save problem is that no matter what, if you die, no matter what you've done before the last time you saved, you have to do it all over again. All cutscenes, all secrets. I mean, if you did a really intricate platforming technique that, got you to a secret thing, you've got to do that again. Nothing was saved. So I watched the same cutscene like 5 times once. Ugh. So that was dumb. And then the number 1 most disappointing game of 2018, a game that I played, already had low expectations for, didn't even buy. Mike, you were there with me. It was Metal Gear Survive.
Oh, yeah.
We played a demo version on the PC, and it was dog shit.
Oh my god, was it ever? Jeez.
Hot garbage.
I don't know what that was.
Mike and I come from a long line of Nazi zombies gaming, and so we were like, oh, Metal Gear meets survival wave horror, and then we had a couple other friends that were like, yeah, that sounds cool, we'll give it a shot. Holy shit. I mean, if you haven't seen the reviews on this game, it's basically, I would say, because nobody even fucking bothered to buy the game, it probably didn't get as much hate, but it should have, because I was going to say, it should have gotten as much hate as Fallout 76.
Yeah, it really should have. I don't know.
It was just an asset, what do you call it, an asset swap or something, where all they did was they just slapped the fucking name Metal Gear on it, and they were like, this is going to sell. Fuck no. God damn it. That was a piece of shit. I usually don't get this, like, heated up and emotional and irrational about games, but that was... I didn't even pay for this fucking game. We played a free demo. Yeah. And I remember walking away from it just like, fuck, are you kidding me? That is the series now? That is the last installment of Metal Gear? this
Yeah.
pile of
Oof.
trash. Like, I hope that they make a new Metal Gear in some sense, because if they're going to end on that note, I mean, that's not tripping and stumbling. That is ripping off your own foot and throwing it down the field. Like, that you can't harm your brand any more possibly than you can with putting out fucking Metal Gear Survive as your last game.
God, it was just bad. Just straight up
Yeah.
bad.
So
man.
those are my top 5 most disappointing. Metal Gear Survive deserves to probably get every single spot on that list. Number 1, Metal Gear Survive. Number 2, Metal Gear Survive. But just because I felt like mixing it up a little bit more, that fucking game goes above and beyond every other disappointing game I think I've ever played, actually. But Mike, what are the ones that you got?
So the ones I got is we talked about it last week, and I never played it, but it needs to be on here still. Fallout 76, still a hot piece of garbage. I'm very disappointed in that because a big fan of Bethesda. Just knowing that, I was like, there's enough said about that. Just know they've really destroyed my confidence in the whole entire company, and even with the latest release of their Wolfenstein Young Blood, I just like after hearing that too, I was like, yeah, what the fuck is going on with that company? Just know. And it just really set a tone to what they are nowadays. But that's my number 5. It's on honestly, there's no numbering because it's just like these are the things that kind of just disappointed me.
Arbitrary numbering. That's fine.
Yeah. Another game that actually disappointed me was Horizon Zero Dawn. It was like you with I just didn't care. The game, I mean, yay, giant robots hunting them down. But after you played for about an hour, you didn't need to kill robots anymore. You just avoided them because you had all the resources you'd ever need in the whole entire game. So even if I saw...
I played that game too. I had the exact same experience. I stopped after like 3 hours.
I beat it. And man, that storyline... Ben, you should have seen my girlfriend. She was just laughing her ass off as I was like... Me just yelling at the screen like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care who you are. This is stupid. Like, the main king of a city is, like, a fucking fanboy of your main character. He wants you, like, just to lick your feet. I'm like, you're a king? And you're just, like... You're just, some random horny douche who just wants to bang me? But just, like, he's, like, your classic nice guy, dude. And I'm like, dude, get the hell away from me. How are you the king? And it's, like, these massive events that happen are so... There's no point to it. There's no point for your character going to be here. It's like, oh, these dinosaurs are attacking the city. You destroy them in 2 seconds with simple bows and stuff, and that's it. I'm like, really? They were the threat? This was the giant threat? It was like 6 pterodactyls? I'd shoot them with my bow with no special ammunitions. They died. And then when there was like a massive attack, it was like everyone was like, oh, go make sure everyone's okay and ready to do it. You just go and talk to them. It's like, oh, hi, my name's this person. We probably met before, but you probably forgot. I'm like, I didn't, but I just don't care. And it's like, once again, the big hold-off, everyone had really powerful weapon that killed all the dinosaurs, and the only thing that they sucked at was aiming. I was like, really? I'm like, this is the final thing, is a horde mode? The story was, it was just a big disappointment. Like, hunting down the dinosaurs was cool. It was cool hunting them, but there was no reason for it, though. So I kind of feel like a dick after a while. I'm like, I don't need to kill you, so why do I want... Like, I literally had that thought process. I'm like, that's a really cool thing. But I am so stacked with resources and so have everything I ever need to beat this game, I don't even want to fight you. There's no reason for me to. I literally gain no benefits for killing you. And it's just like... Because there's this like one giant cyan monster I saw. It was really cool looking. And it's like, wow, I should kill that. But kind of don't want to because there's no reason to. I just want to get this over with. So bye.
I just felt that the game was... I remember I was walking around and I didn't really spend enough time to realize if there was a fast travel system or not. But I just remember walking around and being like, holy shit, it takes a long time to walk through this map. When they first let you out of that cave and you've got to, like, find out the next thing to do, I didn't even do that. Like, I went exploring, like a typical open-world game. Like Grand Theft Auto, the first thing you're going to do is steal a car and drive around and shit. So, like, I was killing a couple dinosaurs and stuff, and then I just didn't... Like, it just took forever to get everywhere in that game. It was so spaced out, and I understand it's supposed to be, like, this big open world with free-roaming dinosaurs and everything, but they needed...
but here's the thing, though.
It kind of makes my point moot that you can fast travel.
Yeah, but the thing though, Ben, you played the whole game already. Nothing changed. You got nothing cool. You got more bows, different type of arrows. There's like slingshots and tethers. I never used the tethering mechanic once because what's the point where I can just blow him up and he falls on the ground and just kill him?
Yeah.
And
So
it was
unlike
weird
God of
because,
War,
like
you just
fast
don't feel
traveling,
like using the other shit.
yeah, and it was weird because you would have to use resources to fast travel unless you bought a backpack, and then you don't have to pay any more resources anymore to fast travel. And it's really easy to get this backpack to buy. And I'm like, what's the
point?
why? Like, why? It took me 2 seconds to buy this. And then now, because like you needed like sleeping bags or something like the fast travel, which made no sense. And then if you just bought this traveling pack, you didn't have to do it anymore. And it's just something that sits in your inventory. You don't see it on your character. You don't see anything. It doesn't take away anything. It just sits in your inventory slot, and you already have plenty of inventory slots. So it's like, why did you make this a resource cost? And what's even the point of this? It's just why. And most of the game is that. I mean, everyone loves the game. And sure, there's multiple ways you can take down dinosaurs, but really just shooting with a bow just does just fine. Like, the first bow you get is good enough. And just like, you just buy another bow that has the other special ammunitions on it, and that's it. That's all you need. I didn't use anything else but bows with the special ammunitions. And then just like, all right, what's our weakness? This? All right, I'll use that. I'm like, cool. And
so the game it had a bunch of stuff, but it didn't demand you to use anything.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah, it's like cool. I mean, I do like having like, the ability to play it that I want to, but when you throw all this stuff at me and they're useless, and it's like, especially just like, man, you get resources in that game stupid easy. Just stupid easy. But given there are really cool scenes, like when I faced a giant T-Rex, it blew through it destroyed like this giant rock I was hiding behind. It was mostly like a mini mountain, destroyed this thing that was hiding behind, which was cool. But I mean, that was like the only cool scene, honestly. I don't know, it was just very lackluster and just did not care. Yeah, I just didn't care. It was like you with that other game, Darksiders. I just did not care at all.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to beat it because I got the game, and when I was in that moment, it was like, I want to play a game, and I want to play all the way through and beat it. And I've been doing that more and more now. It was like, that was the first game I bought. I'm like, I play games, and when I play it, I'm going to finish them. And I was just like, so I forced myself on that one. Maybe that's why I'm struggling with Resident Evil 7, because maybe I'm just having some flashbacks. But man, did I force myself. I was like, I'm going to sit here and play it. And like,
that is really reminiscent of my Darksiders experience. I wrote down 3 games I wanted to play, and I went in order, and I was just basically just like crawling through Darksiders, and I got to, like, I could have beaten that boss in 2 seconds, I'm sure. I honestly don't even know who the boss is or anything. Like, I didn't even bother to look at him or to see him or anything. It just got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm at the end, and as I was about to turn it on one day, I was like, why am I even going to spend 30 minutes going to this boss and killing him? Why don't I just start the next game? What am I gaining from doing this? And so I just reached that point where I was like, why did I force myself to play this game for 18 hours?
If it's not a good game, it's not a good game. And I think, though I've heard now that people still love Horizon Zero Dawn, the writing's bad, the characters are all bad. I mean, they're all just like, it's so weird. Like, everyone seems like they want to fuck you in that game. It's just like everyone wants to bang your character, and it's just really weird because like they're trying to be like nice. They're all acting like the nice guy kind of way. I'm like, this is weird. This is just weird with all the characters. Like, they all seem like wimps. Every single one. There's even a wimp in the game, and like they all have like the same personality, and just like, ugh, every single one of you. I hate all of you. And it's like the only cool person was the main character, but she was also a whiny bitch, just complaining. It's like, oh, I don't want to be part of the village. The village turned back on me. I'm going to help the village. Why is the village turn? I don't care what the village wants. I'm going to do this for me. Or it's like, but I'm doing this for the village. Shut up. I'm doing this for the village that I hate. I'm like, what? Wait, who are you? Just annoying characters.
What is your driving force exactly? Do you like them or not?
I don't know. I didn't know anything about it, but it was, I guess I really just did not like it, honestly. So maybe... but that was Horizon Zero Dawn. Another game on my list is called Tiny Metal. I've talked about this during our podcast before in 2018, But
Talk
Tiny
about a
Meadow.
disappointing game. I mean,
Oh
even
my
for
God.
me who didn't even play it, I was pretty excited about that game. It
I
looked
was
cool.
so excited. Yeah, it looked like exactly like Advance Wars, and I was like really had an itch to have another Advance War experience. But the game was officially fully out. It didn't have any. It had like no English dub at all. Instead, it was coming out soon. It was all in subtitles, and you can either have voice acting or no voice acting. I went without the voice acting, and just said just do blah 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 blah. And I'm cool with that. And just the gameplay was bad. The story didn't make any sense. It was such a fucking train wreck. It took fucking. It was one of those games like we were saying, like it just drudged on. I was like, no, I'm done. I have a life. I have more games to do. You are done. So that was that one. And then I did buy another. So the rest of these are gonna be on Switches, by the way. I bought another
Switch
game
games,
called Never Out, which was have you ever watched the movie Cube at all, Ben?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was like that technically, where you're in this cube and then you solve puzzles, and the puzzles are just getting from just to the exit, and you just the ability what's unique about this one is that you can walk on walls, but it was a very stupid puzzle. And when I beat it, I thought I was just done with the trial, like the training levels, but I was like, no, I just beat the whole game. I was like, oh, okay. So that was a big joke. I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, what?
How much did you pay for it? Do you know?
I think like $5, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, so it wasn't bad. So I was like, I like puzzle games. You know, I think they're cute. A running old joke, but if you've ever listened to podcasts, you hear me saying that a lot in the older podcasts.
Cute.
And another one that, Ben, you played this one, and I played it, was Uncanny Valley. This was a horror 2D game, and it got a lot of praise, and I finally played it, and it was not good. It's one of those games that you have to play over and over again, apparently.
If you like a story driven game with pages of narrative that you've got to read like at least 5 times, then Uncanny Valley is the game for you.
It's not even 5 times, it's like 20 times. And man, you have to wait through the annoying cutscenes, and you have to play through the very first cutscene every single time. And it says like, oh,
Yeah.
you got to replay this, I'm like, no, because the first playthrough took fucking forever for me. Because I guess I wasn't supposed to get that far, and you want me to
It's
go
like-
redo everything again? Fuck
It's like one of those old choose your own adventure books, but instead of being able to backtrack to the last mistake that you made, it's like you have to read the book from page 1 again. And you're like, yes, I do want to go this way, and I do want to grab that item, and I do want to do this, but I don't want to talk to this
Yeah.
person. And then like, oh, I still died. Okay, well then let's go this way, and then we won't grab that item. Like you have to start. If it's the kind of game that sprawls out with all the different choices you can make, you have to start at the base every single time. So you go through
Yeah.
that first intro and all the like story and exposition, like 20 times or something. You hear that story so many times. I played it twice and I was like, no,
I played it twice too, and after that I was like, and apparently there was way more to play. I was like, fuck off, no, I'm done. I'm like, I can't go through that beginning ever again, because it's a very slow paced game. And I think they should have focused on making a solid story instead of multiple stories, because it is a very nice style. I enjoyed the style, I enjoyed the character and all that, but man, just to get the full experience, like, fuck off, no.
Well,
Jeez.
it's like the cool thing that they did with that game, Life is Strange, the one by Don't Nod, who, it's the choose your own adventure, do you talk to this person, do you help this person, what do you say? But the cool thing about that game is that you can reverse time. If you make a decision and you don't like the outcome, you can reverse time, and then you can, like, whatever the last decision you made, you can change that. But after a certain amount of time, you can't just keep reversing. So it's like once you make a couple decisions, then you can't go back to like 3 decisions ago. So at a certain point, you have to commit. But it gives you the opportunity to see like how to see a little bit, to have a little bit of foreshadowing, and be like, oh, I can see how this is going to come back to bite me later. Maybe I should change it. No, Uncanny Valley is just, nope, you fucked up. This is the bad ending. Start from the beginning.
Yeah, which once again is like, yeah, if you're a hardcore person, I guess that's fine. But honestly, who is that hardcore to do that shit over again? Not me, that's for sure.
Yeah. So keep going then. What number 2 now? What are you on?
No, that was my last one. That was my number 1. So to go over again, we have Fallout 76. That was just the biggest letdown in 2018. Horizon Zero Dawn, and then we got Tiny Metal. Then we got Never Out, and then Uncanny Valley. These are the games that were very lackluster and are honestly, if you have not played them, you can avoid them, to be honest. And so those are my low fives of 2018.
All right, I think this is our longest podcast officially. It's getting there.
Oh, Jesus,
so anyway,
yeah.
we can take a couple more minutes here to kind of wrap up, but next week. So this is our 2018 episode. Basically, Mike and I, we didn't do the podcast for like 15 months, and so
we're never talking about 2018 again. We're done with that.
Yeah, we were trying to think of what is everything that we wanted to discuss about 2018. We wanted to say the best games. We wanted to say the disappointing games. So unless there's anything else to talk about, I mean, we've all heard the fucking news. There's no point in doing any news coverage. Like, everyone knows Fallout 76 sucks, and everyone knows that all these other games were a huge disappointment. Metal Gear Survive, whatever. So there's no point in really coming back to this, at least from our perspective, which is generally how the channel
just don't
operates.
really want
it's
to. Just not fun.
Yeah.
It's hard to get shit back into like to find news and all those articles too, especially how things change over time. It's the most difficult thing, especially when it comes to video games, to like do past news.
So
we're just getting this out of the way.
Exactly. Our main objective was just, out of everything that we skipped, how can we kind of bring that all into one episode? Now, moving forward, we're going to stay more in the present tense here. So next week's top 5 is going to be the most... So this is a title that Mike and I both workshopped, and we decided... So we were like, oh, we should do best war games. And then I asked Mike, I was like, well, what do you mean best war games? Like the most realistic, the most like arcade? Like, are we talking Call of Duty here, like fun? Or are we talking like psychological horror, like, you know, Spec Ops: The Line or something? And Mike was like, I think just fun war games. And we were like, okay, we can't say fun war games. So then we decided the name top 5 most enjoyable war games. Which, to say most fun war games feels like a fucking slap in the face. I mean, they're supposed to be like, I mean, maybe not Call of Duty, but they're supposed to be like gritty and real and shit.
He still makes me laugh.
Even most enjoyable war games sounds like a slap in the face to just war in general. That's like saying most enjoyable horror games. Like, obviously, if horror does a good enough job, you're shitting your pants. You're not enjoying it. You know, it's like a bittersweet enjoyment.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. We decided that we would do that. So look forward to that next week. In most enjoyable war games. To wrap up on my end, Mike, this week I'm going to be playing Fallout 4 Game of the Year. I mentioned this last week. I still haven't gotten to the DLC. I really want to get to that point because I've heard that Far Harbor is great and all the other DLC. I've started to get like snippets of the DLC. You know, they start to introduce the quests and whatnot now where I'm at. And so like they're ready for me, but I want to like finish the main quest before I get there. Really excited about that. I'm gonna play some more Eternal card game, which, I mean, it is what it is. I jump on it at least once a day for my first win of the day, but it's like how I used to play League of Legends for the last year, that you just jump on for your XP and then you jump off. Like, it's a fun game, but I've definitely been phasing out of it. Last month, you couldn't pull me away from this game. Now it's just like I'll log on once a day, but that's about it. And then the last 2 ones are Diablo 3. Mike, I'm sure you and I will probably play that a bit today.
Yeah.
And then
I would like to play some just since we got to our season armors and to see how much we can wreck now and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're gonna have some fun. And then also I got a new pet Divinity
in that game. I got a new pet in Diablo 3. I got a little abominable snowman thing. It's awesome. He's cute.
That's funny. I got like a monster pet myself, but it's so stupid. So I'm jealous of your snowman.
Yeah, I found him. He looks so cool. I was so excited when I found him. Like, you're the most adorable thing ever. I can't wait to show Ben. It's like, yeah.
And then I don't know if we're gonna get around to it, but typically whenever Mike and I are done talking about how awesome a game is, typically it'll take us like maybe a day, and then we'll be like, let's play that game. So since we've been hyping up Divinity 2, like, I want to finish Diablo 3 and kind of like enjoy that, but something tells me that in this next week, at some point, Mike and I are probably going to decide, we'll see how Divinity 2 is. So yeah, Fallout 4 Game of the Year. Eternal, Diablo 3, and Divinity 2 probably. Mike, what are you going to be playing?
I'm gonna, as we talked, I'm gonna get through Resident Evil 7 this week. I'm gonna probably start something on Monday, but Resident Evil 7, I'm gonna get through that. I'm gonna try to cut through that. Like you said, play maybe a little bit more Diablo 3 with you.
Yep.
Well, not a little bit more. I mean, I still am down to play with it, but since we got our season armors, we're probably gonna be running it in soon. Maybe, I don't know. We somehow always come back to this game.
Is just the beginning, man.
Yeah, it is, because now I have some ideas, and it just like, man, Diablo, they really turned that game around so fucking fast. Well, not fast, it took them a while, but
I was gonna say it took a while, but they got there.
But I don't know how this happened to us, but man, we need to find something that gets us like Diablo 3, where we can come back to it every single time and still have a fucking blast.
I think it might be Divinity, man. I mean,
Divinity, yeah.
If we choose different characters, there are so many different routes that you can take in that game.
Yeah, that's true, but once again, it's a story-based game. Unlike, with like Diablo 3, you can just go straight, it allows you to skip into adventure mode and just go anywhere you want to, then pass all the lingering cut storylines and all that stuff and all the cutscenes. So
Yeah.
I think that might be Bringer of Ashes, that new game that's coming out this month. That might be it. That third-person shooter with mystical monsters and stuff.
Oh, Remnant from the Ashes.
Yeah. Remnant from the Ashes. It might be that one.
Ooh,
has like
man.
some like Warframe feel to it too as well, actually. So I'm pretty excited for that.
What's the ETA? Oh yeah, I think it comes out on the 20th or the 22nd of this month. So yeah, we are officially 3 weeks away from Remnant from the Ashes. Oh my god.
That might be a stopper for us. We might be talking about that for a while.
I don't even know if they have an official price for it. Like I don't get the impression that it's a $60 game. It's kind of from...
I hear that it has only so far I think 4 levels built into it or something like that. But they're always changing, like the routes where things are and everything changes. Like what bosses you run into, I've been looking up to. They also change too.
Yeah, it's randomized. So even though it's got a couple things, it's always going to be different each time you play.
Right.
I mean, if we're talking just purely from a potential standpoint, Remnant from the Ashes is the game that I'm gonna keep a very close eye on. And even if it's not incredible right off the bat, I still want to buy it and support them so that they continue to make more and more stuff onto it.
Yeah, I feel like that was gonna be a Diablo style where it's not gonna be bad at the beginning, but I mean it's gonna be just keep on expanding to where we're at with Diablo 3 now. There's so much shit to do in it and all that stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. It really just comes down to how the characters are, how the gameplay is, and I don't want to do too much research. I just want to be excited with it. I want it to be a sleeper hit for me where I'm not I'm counting down the days, yes, but I basically know nothing about the game except for how the gameplay should be.
Yeah, I'm always excited for these type of co-op games because I'm not really interested in versus games as much anymore, especially since I'm not as good as I used to be against other people. It's nice to just be able to verse against a computer and all that stuff and have a good time. But
well, that's all I got on my end here.
That's mine too, and we're going with 2 hours and 22 minutes, so I think we should start cutting this now. So thanks for listening to everyone, and we hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next weekend.
Yep, see you guys next, I think we're trying to post on Monday from now on. So yeah, every Monday, hopefully. But see you later.
Bye.